for the camera.
Dee Dee! Come on.
No, okay.
Every time. She's very lax today, it's cool. Say hey, baby.
Alright guys, well, that's the house. You've seen what we do in the office, and that's been where we get most of our content in, but this is where we get the energy to make the content. So.
Yeah, we got a comment saying we should do a house tour.
Hey guys, welcome to this year's videos with the NFL Preseason Predictions. Got a couple changes to the format that we had compared to last year that I'd like to go over really quickly. We have new camera angles. We're going with a podcasting style with attached webcams for all of the participants. I think it'll be a little bit more engaging than just having blank graphics with just audio behind it. I think it'll be a little bit more fun to see facial expressions and reactions to hot takes and when we think someone's going crazy. So hope that you enjoy this new camera format, and we'll be experimenting more with it on other video types on the channel as we go, starting to understand how to use it. Again, we've also gone up in participants from just myself and Ben to also including DJ and Griffin. So we've got a panel of 4 people to go over all these teams and all the craziness that I'm sure is going to unfold this season. When some things change, other things stay the same. You'll still be able to see our schedule predictions, win-loss records for each team on the screen with the webcams, as well as the same team graphics that were there last year, as well as the roster block and a little new block that I've included that has some of the statistics from last year's team. So their record, their division record, their sort of production on both sides of the ball. And I think that helps to sort of understand the team that is coming out of last year into this year and sort of what you could maybe look to expect from that kind of team. So hopefully that hopefully you get some enjoyment of having that on the screen for your viewing pleasure. Again, when it comes to viewing pleasure, I know that a lot of people sort of dropped comments or DMs to me about the length of these videos. Going from 2 participants to 4 participants, obviously the videos are going to get a little longer to include all of the stuff that we have to talk about. But in saying that, feel free to sort of jump around and watch the parts of the NFL that you're interested in or that you have some sort of opinion that you'd like to compare. Don't feel obligated to watch every single second of all these videos. I know it's a lot, and obviously the season's already started. You'll probably be able to see these at the beginning of week 3, and that's just to continue the tradition of completely underestimating how much work these videos really and truly take to put together and make them enjoyable to watch. So I'll try to get better next time. As you go through, watch what you're interested in. Feel free to sort of skip around and drop the comments as soon as you find something that you want to talk about or an opinion that you want to challenge. We love that kind of engagement, and I think that will carry the momentum into our commitment to doing some mid-season and maybe the beginning of postseason content related to these predictions. Try to get the panel back to talk about everything that we are going to cover in these videos and see how that differs from the reality that is unfolding currently. Hope to see you guys in the comments section. Would love to engage with you as the season goes on, and feel free to come back to these videos often, especially towards the end of the season. Hopefully our playoff predictions aren't that far off, but that'll be really fun to see how all of the NFL season boils down to 7 teams on each side, and we'll be able to see which of the 4 of us was the most right in getting that guest. So anyway, enough rambling. I'm going to let you guys get to the video, but please like, comment, subscribe, share. Particularly share. I think these videos have the power to sort of bring conversation together. I think everyone loves to bond over football. So love to see a lot of commenting and sharing going on to really get engaged with you guys on these videos, and hopefully that carries the momentum into some more NFL related content on the channel, as well as other content that we have planned in the future for the channel that's not related to sports. So we're still cranking on a bunch of other videos and hope to have those to you very soon, but for now I'll let you get to the preseason prediction videos. Thanks, guys. So we're going to go ahead and get started on our AFC preseason predictions for this year. Got the boys back for episode 2. Let's go ahead and get started with, I guess, the thing that's going to date this episode pretty heavily. It's currently August 19th, and we have already heard of Deshaun Watson's suspension from the Cleveland Browns for this upcoming season. It's the 11-game suspension with the $5 million fine. So that puts him at being back in the league, ready to play for week 13, because that actually includes the bye, so you don't get credit for the bye week. And so he'll be ready to play for Texans week 13 at Houston, which is just like the weirdest decision. I would have kept him as far away from that game as I possibly could, but the NFL loves drama, and they love drama that they can manufacture later in the season. So I guess they're just operating on, hey, let's get some storyline for the middle of the season for a team that may or may not be terrible to drive the ratings up. So that's kind of the premise that I guess they're running with.
Nah, man.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and tell you what happened. Okay, this is what happened. Okay, the NFL said, okay, look, we want to kick this guy out for at least a year, and the Player Association and Deshaun Watson were like, yo, wait, hold up. You like making money. I like making money. I've got some money in the bank left over from Houston, right? So they said, okay, we're gonna give you a little Ben Roethlisberger slap on the wrist. Okay, so they give this guy 11 games, and then lo and behold, when does he come back? Oh yeah, specifically against Houston, the same team that he racked up the whole drama with in the first place. Nah, man, the NFL's about making money. They did 11 games because they were like, yo, you'll be back during Houston week. There'll be some type of bad blood. It'll make for good ratings. Somebody will watch the game just because they want to see what happens, to see if Houston tries to take his head off.
Everybody's going to watch that game.
Everybody's going to watch that game. And
Must-watch
$5
football.
million? Are you joking? The dude just got a $239 million guaranteed dollar contract.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
he doesn't care about $5 million.
Well,
His
He
checks
didn't play
for the
a down of football last year. He did not play a down of football, and he made $6.6 million. $5 million means nothing to him. So
Yeah,
it's like
well,
it's such a slap on the wrist. But
the
I mean, 11 games will help.
The reason that they mentioned
disgusting.
the fine is because it is technically the largest fine that's ever been levied
Fine
against a player. But like I kind of agree with the consensus that it feels like it's not as much as they could have done. They could have completely just wrecked his ability
All I'm
to
saying
play,
is,
but it is what it is.
all I'm saying is, and this is my point, and I'll leave it alone after this. Okay. If he can get 11 games and a $5 million fine, if Alvin Kamara gets more than like a game and a half,
You got
the
problems.
NFL's rigged and they literally just hate the Saints. I'll be convinced.
It's definitely going. I mean, down the line, there's even like, yes, the Alvin Kamara thing is a easy like current comparison, but this is going to be kind of the suspension or the situation that everything gets compared to until there's a worse like Until
there's something more egregious.
Well, until there's something that's like, oh, this person did this thing, and then the punishment doesn't match, whether it's above or below the bar that was set by the thing that they did. It's going to be the comparison that people go to, and they're like, well, if that could happen, that our player that's on our team that did this thing that we don't like either, but like we want him to play, he should like, you know, do some community service and be fine. Like, it's nothing compared to what he did. So it's a weird, weird thing to have to talk about.
Yeah, and the suspension's a big deal. You know, it sets all his precedents and whatnot, but also the fact that he's not going to play the first 12 weeks of football, I think is going to just crush the Browns, which since they kind of completely, they kind of showed they have no loyalty to Baker, so it just kind of like comes back and bites them in the butt, which feels fantastic. Because like Baker kind of played his heart out for that team and didn't really, never came to fruition for him to show success. So like, not that I like the Browns that much, but I like them like
man, come on,
even worse. I like them even worse now, and I kind of just want them to go back to mediocrity and irrelevance, which is why I have them a dismal 3-14 on the season. Absolute dismal. Now, that is only because I have zero faith in Jacoby Brissett to actually lead this team to like wins, and because without having a good quarterback, I know they have Nick Chubb and they have some talent, but like, man, the AFC it's hard. Their division is hard. Like, everybody else they play, it does not look like easy roads for them. Like, I have them getting the easy free wins. I have them losing a lot of pretty much all of them that are difficult. So, like, the easy ones I have being Houston, Atlanta, and the Jets. Everybody else, I feel like it's like, okay, if they're not playing well, they'll probably play close, but like, I think they're gonna lose a lot of games by a pretty large margin. I don't have that much belief in them to actually do really, really well. That's kind of my biggest one for the NFC North there.
I'll one up your hot take, Ben. I went to 1-16.
Let's go.
I couldn't.
You really don't think that they can win more than one game?
Last year I committed wholeheartedly to 0-17 for Houston, and when I was filling out my schedule, I was like, I bet you Cleveland could do it. And as you're going through on the other, bad. Well, no, not that bad. I gave them one. But as you're going through other teams and you're like, okay, like this team I have belief in, so I'm going to believe that they win games. I could never look at Cleveland and go, oh yeah, they'll lose to that team. Like, to me, when I look at Cleveland, yes, they have a ton of talent at other positions, but I feel like they have no direction, no soul.
Combined with all the drama around them, I think that's going to distract them a lot from actually being able to fix any issues that are in their locker room or like. So they've been notorious for having locker room issues for a while now. That's been a really big thing coming out of Cleveland, and you just add this extra drama with Deshaun coming in. I think that really screws them up. Plus now, like, you don't have a good QB, so like that's why I've only given them that many wins. But like, they should be a good team. Like, they should have been a number 1 team in the division last year, but they somehow messed that up, and Cincinnati had a miracle run and all that good stuff. But like, they should have been a super good team and gone into playoffs, probably won a playoff game or so. With everything surrounding them, it's just hard for me to get on board with that team and say they're going to win a lot of games. It's just too much distractions outside. But I assume y'all gave them a few more wins, and y'all probably trust in the process over there.
Yeah.
I gave them 5-12. I mean, I have them sneaking away week 1 with a win against Carolina, and then the next 7 games, take Miami, lose to Buffalo, Tampa Bay, and then they beat Houston, lose the next 3, and then win the last 2. So I gave them 5-12, but I mean, you can't. This isn't like the 14, 15, 16. They're not talentless. they're good. They may have distractions which may hinder them, but I can't see them only having one win. But I mean, I didn't change what I had after the whole Deshaun thing came out. I just stuck to it, thinking that something was gonna happen. But I mean, I still think that the schedule might hold up.
Yeah, I definitely filled out my schedule under the assumption that I guess my personal belief was that Deshaun was just going to get the full year, like that the NFL was going to step in until they got the full year. And then to me, like when if Deshaun were to be out for the entire season, there's really no incentive to win. Like, yes, they are built to win right now. Like, they have good players, and if they had, like, some competent quarterback, like if they traded for Jimmy G or something like that in that scenario, then, yeah, they could probably string it together. But I guess in my eyes, like now, I don't see them being very strong in the first 11 games because I don't see a whole lot of direction. Obviously, I don't think that they're going to have great quarterback play in those 11 games. And then when Deshaun gets back and you're in the bottom 3 or 4 in the AFC and making a playoff seems impossible, like I don't even think Deshaun could go out there and win. Like I don't see Deshaun taking that team and going 5-1 or 4-2 in his remaining 6 games. Like even if he did, what would that get them? Like, oh, great, you screwed up our draft position and we go from a top 10 pick, down to like 13 just because you decided that you were back and you wanted to ball out. Like, I needed you to be here to ball out in weeks 1, 2, and 3. But now I would rather just take the top 5 pick, move on, and either use it or trade it away to someone who's way more desperate than me and get more out of a crap situation than you, like, now, proving to everyone that you're still good. Like, obviously he's still good, but I don't think that that's going to be in their best interest at that time.
Now, that being said, their first 4 games, Carolina, Jets, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, very winnable games.
True.
Like, those, nobody on that scares me. Their next 4, and then they have their bye week, and then their 3 following that, I don't think they have a prayer to win those games. Like, there's no shot, and so, like, they come back on Houston, you have all those distractions, they could probably win Houston, but then you've just got another gauntlet right in front of you with Cincinnati, Baltimore, New Orleans. You got Pitt again at the bottom and Washington again at the bottom, so, like, 6 games?
Yeah.
5 or 6 games sounds good, but, like, what you got, D?
DJ, you got the floor.
He's like,
boy, y'all were you two in this configuration on my screen. I don't know if Griffin, you're over here somewhere, but like we're like this. Y'all two are like, y'all got the gas mask on or something, dude. Because look, listen. Okay, I'm gonna list off a couple of names here. Okay, I've got Amari Cooper, I've got Donovan Peoples-Jones, I've got Nick Chubb, and I've got Kareem Hunt. Now, that's just the offensive side, all right? I'm going to go through their schedule just like our good friend Mr. Benjamin did here, okay? I got Carolina. Cool, that's a game. Everybody knows it's a game because Baker wants to beat the crap out of them. I assumed Baker was going to win that game anyway for the ratings, right? For the people, for himself, and then suck the rest of the season. I don't care, right? We've got a Jets team that just lost their starting quarterback. I'm pretty sure, like in the preseason game, he looked like he tore something, right? You've got the Steelers that I just don't think they have a spitball's chance in anything of winning games, period. And then I've got the Falcons. I've got them at 3-0, 3-1 already from the start of the season, and that was without Deshaun. That was accounting for without Deshaun. It just so happened that I have them winning, like, ceiling 6-11, not knowing what Deshaun was going to be like with his whole ordeal, assuming he was going to miss at least the first 8 to 9 games, and I still have them at 6-11, like legitimately with some close games, with potential of them being my team to watch because they can win more games than what people will probably give them credit for. Like, I look at that team, and I'm not going to lie to you. Yes, their schedule gets hard after week 13 when he gets back and they play the Houston Texans. But, well, hold up. Week 14, they play the Bengals, and I'm sorry, everybody's going to hate me to say it because, everybody loves Joey B. But, like, Eli Apple still plays football professionally and just so happens to be on that team. I'm going to have 1,000,001 Eli Apple jokes, by the way. Literally any team that I give them the benefit of the doubt beating the Bengals is because they threw a 60-yard touchdown on Eli Apple. I'm not serious. I'm not joking. I am dead serious. The guy is that bad. Now, cool. Okay, yeah, cool. They lose to the Ravens. They lose to the Saints. Then they play Washington and then the Pittsburgh Steelers again. Where in that do you see that team with a Deshaun Watson that could potentially lose? Like, I have them realistically having a tough couple of close games, but still being able to etch some out. They're my team to watch, but I still have them at like 6-11. But their ceiling is way higher than that, potentially, just from the people that are on the roster. It's one of those things I can't sit there and say, oh, well, who's going to throw the football to him? With the talent you have on that team, almost the postman could do it and still win games, if I'm being honest. Like,
Yeah, I think they do have the potential to win those games. I just don't trust them to. That's my problem.
I mean, the thing is, and you talked about, like the historical, locker room issues that they have. The thing is, the people that were causing the locker room issues are no longer there. Like, none of them. Baker's no longer there. Odell's no longer there. Landry's no longer there. The other wide receiver that was like mad talking crap all the time. Like, none of those people that caused the locker room issues are even there anymore. The biggest thing surrounding this team is how good are they going to be without Deshaun? And then everybody's like, oh, well, Deshaun had a really bad preseason game. Dude, if I knew I was getting suspended for 11 games, you'd be lucky I'm not out there throwing it with my left hand. Like, and I'm right-handed. Like, legitimately. Like, I wouldn't care. I'd be like, dude, I'm about to go sit at home for the next couple of weeks and, watch all on TV. I can't even participate in practice. So what's he going to do? He's probably going to end up calling the freaking team's official masseuse 30 times in the next 10 to 15 weeks and call it a day. He's going to get a massage every day. Going ahead. I'm done with these kids.
Okay, so I understand. So going through the last part of their season, I have them beating the Texans, but losing to the three teams, Bengals, Ravens, Saints, but they're going to be close losses. And then I have them beating the hell out of Washington, and then
you put over Washington? Let's be honest.
Honestly, yeah. But I just looked it up, and I don't know if you guys or not, but I was curious, like, when he was going to be able to practice with the team. And apparently he's going to be able to practice the last 2 weeks of the suspension. So he'll
Up.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Oh man, he's like gone, dude. Oh man, I gotta hold it.
Gotta hold it for a little while. Well, R.I.P. him. That's interesting though that he can actually practice now.
Yeah,
in the last
I mean that's pretty standard. Like,
it's normal.
You're allowed to come back to practice, because it would really suck if you were suspended for an extended period of time and then you're not allowed to practice, and then you come back thinking that your team is just going to let you play the very next game after your suspension, and they're like, oh, you're garbage because you haven't been practicing. You don't know anything that's happening. Yeah. All right, so we'll just move back to the top of the division, and we'll talk about either Cincinnati or Baltimore. I think we will probably be split on that, but we can sort of debate who we think gets the edge. Personally, I'm still riding the hype train from last year that Ben started in the first set of preseason videos that we did. Obviously, Joe Burrow and LSU North, they basically took, the whole league by storm. Personally, I think they edge out Baltimore. I have Cincinnati at 13-4, Baltimore at 11-6. I think no matter who takes the edge in the actual division, I think both teams make the playoffs pretty much guaranteed from my point of view. I think there are enough other teams that are on a down year that they both get in pretty much no problem. And I just gave Cleveland the edge based on last year's performance. And personally, I kind of built in the concept that maybe Lamar doesn't play a game here or there. He's obviously way more prone to get injured the way that he plays the game versus Joe Burrow. So I just kind of built that in as the reason to distinguish between them. But honestly, it's definitely a splitting hairs kind of discussion because I think both teams are really good. I wouldn't want to see either one of them. If I was an AFC playoff contender, I wouldn't want to have anybody from this division come to me. So that's kind of how I see it. But it's definitely splitting hairs.
Yeah, I've got Cincinnati at 13-4 as well, and then I have Baltimore at 12-5. I think that Baltimore is going to have a slightly better year than they did last year, and I think that Cincinnati is still going to have really good year. If you look at last year, I mean, during the regular season they were 10-7, but they have 4 out of those losses are a 3-point loss. The other ones, they lost to the Chargers 41-22, Cleveland 41-16, and then they lost to Cleveland again only 21-16. So I mean, a lot of those are close losses, are literally decided. 2 of those are overtime 3-point losses. So those are decided by a coin flip probably. And they were clearly a good team since they went through Vegas, Tennessee, Kansas City, and almost Los Angeles to win the whole thing. So they're a good team. They're a very good team. They got a lot of their pieces back. So I mean, they should be considered a front runner for the division. It's not really surprised that Baltimore will be contending with them because of, especially since we think Cleveland and Pittsburgh are both probably looking on a down year. There's just a lot of question marks for Pittsburgh at their quarterback position at the moment. And there's a ton of controversy around Cleveland that we already touched about. So I think you should see these two teams pretty good. Ultimately, I'm giving the edge to Cincinnati by a single game, but both of these teams should be probably 11 plus wins, 10 plus wins, definitely 10 plus wins, but I would say 11 plus wins. And both should be, your number 2 or 3 seed probably, and then your number 5 seed in the wild card. So, you'll have a division winner and a top wild card spot. That's where these teams should come out. It's splitting hairs, like you said, for which one do you think is going to be there. But both should be playoff contending teams and should be very, very good throughout the year.
DJ, what you got?
Man, look, all right. I got the Bengals at 13-4. Like everybody else, I'll jump on the bandwagon for now. Right? We'll say that. I think that they could definitely lose some games because of the Apple factor, right? In Madden, you got the X factor that gives you a buff. Well, the Bengals, they decided to go with the opposite. They've got the Apple factor, and you don't know how hard he's going to hit that day. Because I feel like a lot of these close wins that I gave them the benefit of the doubt on are going to be some close losses because Eli Apple got burnt on a 60-yard pass that should have never happened by any good cornerback in the league. But his mom likes to continue to tell people on Twitter that he's the greatest in the world, and it was like, buddy, if you were the greatest in the world, you would have still been on the Saints. Let's be honest. While you're sitting there talking about our gumbo and saying how obese we are, we're obese. I'll give you that one. But don't come for our food. It's delicious, right? Stop, actually be a top ranking cornerback in the league before you actually talk shit. That's all I'm gonna say about him. Right, I'll leave him alone after that. Nah, fuck that. An apple a day keeps like the bad passes away, but apparently for them, an apple a day gets them a win. So you know what? They're gonna keep eating them up all day long.
Gosh.
The Ravens. Excited to see what happens with Lamar. 25 pounds of like muscle put on over the off season. If he can still move as fast as he can, hopefully that'll keep him like 100% healthy with no significant issues to kind of go along with it. Then I think they'll be fine, and they can win more than the projected 10-7 that I have them in some of those close games. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see next year what kind of comes about everything. I will pass the remainder of my time to Griffin.
So to start, just gonna back up everything that DJ just said, and Cody can attest to this because whenever they were in the playoffs last year, you can go ahead and bleep this out. I absolutely shit on Eli Apple the entire offseason because of what he was saying on Twitter and just everywhere else. It was just ridiculous, and he's not a player out there. He's a liability. Doesn't matter what team he plays for, he's a liability because he's going to give up touchdowns. So, I mean, I have the Bengals at 13-4. I think that, honestly, truthfully, 2 or 3 of those losses are going to be because of one player, Eli Apple. And I think that if the Bengals had someone that was competent out there, they could actually win 2 or 3 more games. But because of that they're not going to do as well, and it'll be interesting to see how I place them in the playoffs. But I'm gonna just go ahead and get away from that. I think Lamar Jackson. Go ahead, DJ.
I didn't mean to cut you off. But while we're still roasting Eli Apple, okay, either his mom is like the greatest marketing strategist of all time, or this dude
delusional.
really. Yeah, or she's delusional, or this kid just doesn't know actually like what's going on. But he is single-handedly the only player that I know in this upcoming football season that every time they lose or every time he makes a bad play in a win or loss, it is going to end in a diss track that comes out. It's going to be like 4 or 5 of them. They're going to be like 5 minutes long. They're going to be bangers because, the people in New Orleans be dropping some fire beats and some bomb lyrics talking about Eli Apple. We already saw what happened, and they had 2 days to make a diss track, and they roasted him. They cremated him, turned him into dust. They called that man apple sauce, apple pie, apple potamus. It didn't matter. He was done. That's all I'm saying. This kid is going to have the target on his back. He's going to be the #1 trending cornerback on Sundays because he gets roasted so bad. I hope everyone understands this.
I don't know if he makes it the whole year I don't know if he makes it the whole year in Cincinnati.
This dude,
I'll be
I
honest.
guarantee you, if they wrote him a contract extension, they probably told him, dude, stay off of Twitter. Do yourself the favor.
I think they'll
and
probably
stay
pick
off
up a
of
free
Twitter.
agent before. If he does struggle, which I assume he will, because maybe in the off season he put the time in.
You know what?
He
I'll
did
give
his
him
film
Sorensen.
study.
I'll give him
Sorensen. They can have him for free. I don't want nothing in return.
But maybe
It'll be a match made in heaven. Give him Sorensen.
Maybe he does better this year. Maybe he did some film study, hit the gym, actually learned how to play cornerback. But
he didn't.
Let me put you on some game, buddy. I've been seeing their camp footage. It's not
pretty bad.
He's getting burned by receivers, okay, bud? And then when he gets on his buddy, Chase, it ain't pretty, baby. It's not.
Yeah, we didn't expect much, but
it's not pretty to the point that the reporters there, you can see them on video like.
That being said,
they knew what it was. That's all I'm saying.
In camp, he is covering some very, very good receivers. But yeah, no, he's trash. I don't think he'll make it all the way through the year. So
one thing I'd like to know is who the hell is in Eli Apple's fan base / corner, because they have to be as delusional as he is.
To be Like, the dude's getting just a massive copium hit. Because somebody, like, listen, when it came out that his mom dropped him off to practice on day one, when
So
he
sweet.
first got to Cincinnati,
That's so nice.
dude, you would have been the most talked about man in the history of the National Football League. Like, I would have been like, oh, your mom dropped you off. Did she pack you a juice box? Was it apple juice? Like, dude, I would have roasted this kid. And then you have the nerve, the actual
audacity.
yes, the audacity to sit there and be delusional and think you're on the level of like a Marshawn Lattimore, a Jalen Ramsey. Like, they actually win awards for being the best corners in the league. You are like ranked 32nd. My bad, you're ranked like 64th because there's
He's
two on the field at both times. Like,
He's like ranked 5 on his own team. Like, what do you mean? Like, like there's got to be somebody better. Like,
man,
I don't know,
like
man.
listen, I could go all day making Apple jokes, okay? Like I said, applesauce, apple pie, like, it's just whatever. That team in 6 or 7, that team in 7, because
yeah, it's gonna be rough.
I
but-
might
I might just. We gotta move past this.
Honestly,
where do you have
Get out of here.
Baltimore? Griffin.
I have Baltimore at 11-6, and it's basically the same as y'all's. It's gonna be close, but I think that with Cincinnati adding the additions to the offensive line, which they most desperately needed, that was the biggest thing with them. That creates the biggest edge, in my opinion.
Yep.
I just think that Baltimore is just gonna, just screw around and just lose a couple of games that they don't need to lose. I just have that feeling, but could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, like, I don't know. In the grand scheme of things, like, I feel like if Cincinnati didn't exist the way that they do in that division, it would be the Ravens all day. But because you've got, like, 2 really good teams in the division, they're just going to kind of take pounds of flesh out of each other on their way to the playoffs. So I think it's not... I mean, talking about 2 playoff teams that just flip positions is kind of... That's better than, like, oh, they're going to be duking it out for the only playoff spot. Just to wrap up this division, I think we've all got pretty low expectations for the Steelers in general. Personally, I have the Steelers I have them pretty optimistically at 7-10. And honestly, I cannot attribute that to anything on the field. I just attribute that to Mike Tomlin. He just refuses to lose. Like, he'll take a pile of junk and make something out of nothing. Now, I think that their quarterback room is going to be better this year than it was last year with the last, like, fumes of Ben Roethlisberger. I think that between, Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, and Kenny Two Gloves, they could figure it out in a better version of what they had last year. So, honestly, I don't see them being that much of a downgrade at that position. Obviously, there are other parts of their team that ebb and flow, but, I mean, you still got TJ Watt, you still got Minkah Fitzpatrick, you still got, the Steelers culture where they're not going to let personnel changes be the deciding factor on how they win or lose games. 7-10 feels really optimistic. Honestly, between them and Cleveland, they'll probably, flip and flop on who's third and who's fourth, depending on how Cleveland does. But, the 7-10 that I gave to Pittsburgh felt like I was doing them a disservice just because of their culture. But I just don't see them getting the wins that they need to, especially in the division, to really catapult themselves past just a middle-of-the-road team.
Yeah, I don't think quite as highly of Pittsburgh, and I kind of feel bad, like, the way I have them ending up. Like it does, just because they've managed to win a lot of games the past few years, and so putting them this bad just doesn't feel good. But they have lost some. They've lost some talent. And you got Mitchell Trubisky right now. Well, I guess they're trying to have Pickett be ready to start, but
Probably.
I'm unsure. It's a rookie QB in a tough AFC. Like he's gonna have issues. They got good defenses, high powered offenses. So it's like, he's gonna have to come out and he's gonna have to ball. He's gonna have to play amazing for a rookie. And I just don't know if there's that kind of talent, or if there was that kind of talent at all in this QB draft. Like I just don't think it was there. So I only have them getting 4 wins, and that doesn't feel good. I want to say they realistically end up somewhere around 6 wins. But like the Steelers lost a lot of games that they had no business losing last year. So it's kind of like I don't have a lot of faith in them. Again, it feels bad to put them there because of like how good Mike Tomlin is as a coach, but like they didn't play well last year. I mean, they 9-7-1, and a lot of those are like close wins. They have close wins and pretty big losses. So I think the biggest win I see that they have is a 26-14. Everything else is a 1-score game. So, and some of their losses are pretty significant. A 41-10 to Cincinnati hurts a lot. 26-17 team to Las Vegas, it doesn't feel good. Another 24-10 to Cincinnati. Like, so they got beat handedly by some good teams, and then they barely hung on against some okay teams. So yeah, I mean, I don't really think that they have got what it takes to win a ton of games, but I think 4 is a little low. So I really would want to say 6 wins. Wouldn't surprise me. But the way I put out my schedule and the way I had their matchups, I have them only getting 4 wins. So
Griffin, what you got?
I have, like, just like you said, Mike Tomlin is going to will the Pittsburgh Steelers to wins, and I think that they're going to go 8-9, but it's going to be because he literally puts together a hot ball of garbage and makes it into something that looks presentable.
Yeah, I mean that, like, as ridiculous.
DJ,
as
I know you're giving me that look right now, but I'm telling you, Mike Tomlin is just different.
built different.
Built different.
Do you like truly disagree with me in that aspect?
Mike muted.
Not muted anymore. I pulled it down so I could talk. So this is all fine and dandy, what y'all are saying, right? But at the end of the day, y'all still have to remember that, like, a coach can only do so much. I can only tell my players to be better than what they are so much if they're just not better, right?
Of course.
I mean, Cody, you can go ahead and put a hot take alert over my head. I've got the ceiling for this team at 3-14.
Jesus.
Like, I do
God
not
damn.
think y'all understand how bad I honestly believe the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be. Do I have some wiggle room in there of, like, maybe squeezing in like 6 or 7 games? Maybe. But, like, you know, when I'm sitting there looking at them, it's something like a gut feeling like, man, I can't sit here and honestly believe that the Steelers, against what their schedule looks like, is going to win more than, like, 3 to 4 games, like, reasonably.
Is it the fact that their offensive production last year had Najee only over 100 yards 3 times and Roethlisberger barely eclipsed 300 yards twice? Something like that, maybe?
Might have a little.
Sadly,
little
yeah.
Yeah.
Their
maybe that.
their defensive rating
defense
was
is
a
good.
0. Their defensive rating was a 0.1, based off of what metric sheet you're looking at. When the Buffalo Bills had like a 4.8. and we're like one among the highest rated in the league. So 0.1, and then your offensive rating is a negative 2.6.
They did
I don't
upgrade
think they-
their defense
I
a
don't-
little bit. So
That
like,
hurts.
Yeah.
Hurts.
they
But
did.
when I start
yeah.
reading off stats to you, you start to understand where I'm coming from. You
Yeah.
losing Big Ben doesn't.
I think that actually
It doesn't
helps
make
them.
the. I don't think it
Well-
helps them.
Well,
because
okay, I don't think it hurts
dude,
them as bad
you
because
are
Ben didn't
okay,
throw
man.
the ball further
Alright.
than like 20 yards. He
Alright,
literally
man.
Drew Brees his entire last season.
Listen,
like,
listen.
They threw it like 50, 60 times, and he threw the ball for like 5 yards every time. They
Listen,
literally just
alright.
trust. Look, I had Smith-Schuster on my fantasy team. I was watching those games religiously, just praying that they'd uncork it over the top. Like it was Schuster and Johnson, and they would just—it's like check down 5 yards, just check down
Brother.
5 yards. So it's like
brother.
I
I
think
do
they're
not think you understand, like the.
I will say I would not be surprised if Najee Harris resets the single season like carries record.
they're just gonna hand him the ball.
Nah, dude, it's gonna still be Derrick Henry. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's
No,
still
no.
gonna be Derrick
No,
Henry.
no,
There's nothing
like-
you can tell me that's
They're
gonna
just
lead me to
feed him the
believe
ball
that.
25, 30 times a game. Like it's just
Yeah,
gonna be,
and guess what? He's gonna end up like Christian McCaffrey over there on the damn Panthers with like half a kneecap. Okay,
Christian McCaffrey's always been an elusive back. He's never been a I'm going to go in there and hit. He will go in there and hit you, but he's never been that's his big thing. Like Najee Harris is built to run people over.
And
He's like Derrick
40
Henry. He's
pounds
built there to be
bigger.
the bowling
Yeah.
ball and just go run people over.
Yeah.
And
I'm
he's
not-
still very young. So like
I'm not disagreeing with you, but this is the issue that I have. I look at their schedule. I look at Trubisky, who has not had a good career. If anything, he is a backup quarterback at best. So he's kind of a little bit out of it in my sense, right? Even though right now, as of 8/18 yesterday, he's listed as QB1. Then you got Mason Rudolph, who I really don't trust, and then you got Kenny Pickett. None of those quarterbacks do I honestly want to
Pin your hopes
trust with running my offense.
Yeah.
Period. Like, why would I sit there and say, you're going to get my team to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
That's just like me saying, I'm going to go to Vegas. You might as well be Trubisky, say you're going to win the game, and then go to Vegas and bet on yourself like Calvin Ridley and just sit out next year.
yeah.
Because honestly, I don't have any one of those guys being able to pull that team together to get wins. You can only run the football
Right.
so much before they say, okay, now try to beat us over the top.
yeah.
Trubisky couldn't
Yeah.
freaking throw it already to begin with.
Yeah, Trubisky's also averaging. He's 16 touchdowns for 10 interceptions a year is what he's averaging, and he's got an average of
Exactly. And people want to dog Jameis.
20. He's got an
For
average
one
of 26
season.
sacks a year. So like, I mean, given that was the Bears, but like, I think that has a lot to do with Trubisky not understanding what he can do in the pocket or like where he can move to avoid getting sacked. Because like.
Well,
You could
I'm
like
sorry.
you can do like half of those could maybe not be his fault, but like half of those have to be his fault. So there's gonna be issues because like
Well, sorry,
Steelers line
Ben.
isn't necessarily the best.
This is the issue that I have, right? This dude went from, the Bears, right?
So the
He
backup
came-
on the Bills.
He came
and
he
then-
came from the Bears, right? Which is, dealing with like the Packers and the Vikings, right? Pretty decent defenses, but not enough to like honestly put you on the ground a lot. That's came from more dealing with better teams like Tampa Bay, the Saints, stuff like that. You go from the NFC, who historically only have like 6 teams with good defenses, to literally an entire other half of the football world that are known for having high-powered offenses and really good defenses. So if you struggled in Chicago, what makes you think you're going to be good on the Steelers? I don't care what kind of developmental coach you have. If you can't stay upright, mister, I averaged 26 sacks in a season, this kid's going to get eaten alive just from the Bengals and the Ravens alone.
I think the fact
It's gonna be
that
tough.
I think the fact that it is still a competition between him and a rookie and Mason Rudolph
Yeah.
kind of sets the tone.
But you
for
know
it.
where they're at.
Yeah.
Well, considering Mason Rudolph's like most known play on the field is getting hit with his own helmet by Myles Garrett, I don't think I've actually seen Mason Rudolph throw the ball or like run his
Why
offense.
is he still on the team? Like,
I don't
Why
know.
is he still on a football team? Who knows?
Probably
man?
because he
who,
takes
who
a home.
honestly knows.
He probably takes
Yeah.
a pretty big hometown discount, and he's just very cap friendly, and he's just one of the.
Well, now they
dudes.
got Kenny Pickett. They got their hometown discount now.
Yeah, get rid of Rudolph. Keep Pickett.
so
Pickett actually looks like a decent ass quarterback. If we're being honest,
I want to.
Now,
Okay,
it's
yes,
early, but, like,
yes, but
he
I
could
want to
be
watch.
Early. That's the problem.
I want to watch Pickett play an away game because the one
Yeah.
game that he played at home, which is the same stadium that he's been playing in for 5 years. So I would like to see an away game first. But yeah, I honestly, if it's that close, just give it to the new guy and let him get the reps and let him get the growing pains out, and he'll figure it out. As long as he doesn't die in the process. But I feel like Pittsburgh's offensive line is fine because they're going to have a good running back and a good running game to like protect him. But if it's close, just give it to the young guy, in my opinion.
That's all I'm saying, man. Hot take. 3-14. Wouldn't be surprised if they're 3-14 and everybody's sitting there saying, "What happened to the Pittsburgh Steelers?" With the first overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select insert name here. Like, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm sorry. It doesn't surprise me
Yeah.
at all.
They
Like,
could,
I'm sitting there
man.
going, like, I literally was getting my hair cut three and a half hours before this, talking to a guy who was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and I had my my Excel spreadsheet on my phone. I said, "Dude, I'll tell you what I honestly believe your team is capable of." And he said, "What?" I said, "What do you think about your quarterbacks?" He said, "Oh, I think we'll have a solid year. We can etch out 11 wins." I said, "Dude, I've got you at 3." He said, "You want to put $100 on it?" I said, "Dude, I'll put $100 in 2 cases of freaking Bud Heavies on it." And I don't even like Bud Heavy. I drink it just to piss him off. And he was like, "Oh no, man, I can't do that. I say, "Exactly, because you don't even believe in your own team."
It was the Bud
Like,
Heavies. It was the Bud Heavies that.
It was the Bud Heavies.
Exactly.
Right.
I intimidated him because he was scared, because he knew that I was a crazy man for saying Bud Heavy.
And it's a hard ask to get them to 11 wins. I think the
11
realistically they
wins,
should be
dude.
somewhere in the middle, just because
that was-
our predictions
That was
are never
a copium hit.
But
That was a copium hit
yeah,
from
Yeah.
all walks of life.
I
I told him,
the
I
same
said,
way
"Dude, I
about
need to."
Pittsburgh that we're feeling about the Saints. I think we probably have overhyped the Saints a little bit because we believe in their potential a lot more. But like
Oh,
even
no,
I think
man.
the potential
what are
for
you
the
talking
Steelers.
about? Overhype them, dude. No one else knows about what the Saints are doing right now.
Listen, man, I don't think this is an overhype with the
I was
Saints.
really making the comparison of like wanting your hometown team and liking your hometown team more. I still think the Saints are going to do very well. So like,
The dude I was talking
Hey,
to was literally born and raised in
the
Tennessee,
Steelers,
man.
like the Steelers,
He
I don't
just
think they have
likes
the
the
potential to do
Steelers.
anything for it.
Ben, I never grew up with an NFL team. I don't have a team, but I look at the
Switch us
Saints.
to the South. Save us.
I look at the Saints truthfully, and they look fucking unbelievable. Like you can't say that they don't look good. You can't say that they don't look amazing right now.
Go check out our
You kidding
video
me?
for the NFC if you want to see about an hour-long conversation about the Saints.
Yeah, we went.
This
we went
shameless
hella
plug.
Deep,
Shameless plug.
Hella deep. So just
Talking about that conference was amazing. But Cody, save us.
yeah,
Please
we
put
gotta-
us on
we
the
gotta
South
move
so I
on,
can.
We gotta move on.
We were preaching to the choir for like an hour and a half.
New play clock. So we're gonna move from the north to the south. We'll move to the AFC South, basically the division that's going to be run by the running backs. The two teams at the top, I would imagine that everybody has, either between the Colts and the Titans.
your hot take.
Calm
yourself.
Either one, JT or Derrick Henry will probably be like the number one pick in most fantasy football drafts around the country for the next few weeks. They're both, princes of PER, and they'll duke it out over Triple Crown and all the rushing stats for the year. So I guess I'll open it up the same way I did the AFC North. Personally, I have Indianapolis eking it out by one game. I have Indy at 10-7, and I have Tennessee at 9-8. That kind of feels very similar to what I did last year, where this is going to be by default the worst division in the AFC in terms of competition, where I think only one of these teams makes the playoffs and the other team is probably left behind, because the AFC is just so deep that you can't afford to not pick up games. And to me, it feels pretty similar to how I did last year. Last year, I gave Indianapolis the edge based on Carson Wentz versus Ryan Tannehill, and this year is really no different. I definitely think that Matt Ryan is a better quarterback option at this point in his career than Ryan Tannehill is. I think with both running backs, I think they're both amazing at what they do, but they kind of cancel each other out in terms of the effort that they display. So that's kind of how I see them. They're pretty similar, but I had to give the edge to somebody. So that's my kickoff to this division.
Yeah, I've got it at a 2-horse race as well. I don't have them quite as I have both of them at 10-7 actually though. I think they have a much harder schedule this year than they did last year, and just because the AFC South is pretty weak in terms of the competition there, I want to give Titans were 12-5 last season. I think they can possibly get back to that mark, but realistically speaking, since their schedule is a lot harder, I think they're both looking at 10-7. Like if you get to 10-7 in this division, you pretty much got your spot, I think. I don't think Indianapolis is going to be that strong with Matt Ryan at the helm. And I think I don't know if I have them splitting the games. I think I do. So ultimately it'll be kind of a coin flip, but I would not be surprised if Tennessee kind of just beats them both games and goes up to 11-6. So right around there, they should be like a 4 seed in the playoffs, whoever wins this division. Because, man, they just have a hard time. I'm looking at their schedule, and it's just nothing's a free win. A couple teams that I think are going to do really well. Whenever I was looking at, do they beat Indianapolis? Do they beat Tennessee? 7 or 8 times out of 10, I gave it to them, just because I don't think they're very, very strong teams. I think they're good teams, but I don't think they're super strong teams. And so if I had to justify a team doing super well, and it was versus Indianapolis or Tennessee, I had to give them the win. So that being said, they are in the AFC South, so they pretty much have 4 free wins. So, we got Jacksonville and Houston twice. So you shouldn't really have to worry there. You just have to pick up a few more wins here and there in the close games. If you can go half on your games, you're going to sit at, 10-7, 11-6. So I don't expect anything crazy. I mean, it'll be down to the wire to see which team wins it. Not really concerned. I don't think these teams go far in the playoffs either. I think they're kind of just cursed to win the division and then just get stuck. So that's all I got.
Griffin, what you got for us on this?
Cody, can you remind me what you have the Colts and the Titans at again? One more time for me.
So I've got Colts at 10-7 and Titans at 9-8. Just kind of middle
All right.
teams.
Cody, when you are going and reviewing these videos, I need you to put a counter on how many times Griffin Calendar has copied Cody Pate's homework, because I also have the Indianapolis Colts at 10-7 and the Tennessee Titans at 9-8. I don't know how this happens, but it just happens. So I don't know.
Jackson, do these teams excite you, at all?
The running games.
This whole division.
The running games.
I mean, yeah, the running games excite me, but I mean,
the actual games, to watch these two teams play each other just feels like it's watching paint dry. They're just gonna beat the crap out of each other, and it's not gonna be pretty. It's just gonna be which does Jonathan Taylor, does King Henry win it? It's like it just feels awful, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you say it like that, it just sounds like the Colts and the Titans are just playing old school, just
Black and blue
just
football.
run it between the fucking hashes and just try to smash everyone. You know, I mean, that's probably what they're going to do, honestly. But I mean, getting away from that, I mean, I have Jacksonville at 7-10, and then I have Tennessee going 6-11. I just don't believe in them, but I think the Jaguars. Huh?
Yeah, Houston going 6-11.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You said Tennessee, so I was clarifying.
Oh, sorry. Texans going 6-11. I just don't believe in them yet. I don't know why. I just don't believe in them.
Let's let DJ jump in on the top two teams, and then we'll.
Time for me to jump in because I'm hearing a lot of cap. Okay, coming out. I'm time to take the caps off, boys. All right. I don't know what Twilight Zone we're living in, but it's time for the reality check. Okay. So let me go on ahead and put it like this. I wrote 2 notes down for the South. The first is can old Matt bring some stability to a team that needs it? In the Colts, because they've been all over the place for a very long time. Hopefully he can bring something to the team. The ball still needs to go out of his hand in 2 seconds, or he's going to look like the Falcons versus the Saints. But every game. Putting that out there. We all know what it is. He can't run. He just can't.
A young receiving core.
But he also doesn't have the Falcons' offensive line, does he?
No, he has a much better offensive line.
The Colts
he doesn't have to get out.
Way better.
But you've got a young wide receiver core, and you've got defenses that fly around the ball way faster.
That being said, he does have...
It's like playing the Saints every week.
He's got a good O-line, though, so I don't expect him to be on his butt quite as much as he was as the Falcons. Like
when he was on the Falcons, he was getting harassed within like the first second or two after he received the ball. Like it was ridiculous. Like he was getting murdered back there.
I would be willing to bet that Mo Cox gets more than just 1 touchdown this season. You know, just
and then my second note is for the Tennessee Titans, which is can they beat an already dead horse conference? Let's be honest. Like let's stop capping. Let's stop saying the Colts are gonna somehow squeeze this out like it's lemon juice and you're squeezing the lemon for every drop. We're completely capping. We're completely capping. Shut up. We're completely capping. The Tennessee Titans are going to go 10-7. I've got them at 10-7. Realistically. I've got them at 7-10. Let's be honest, dude. Matt Ryan is not going to make that big of a difference on the Indianapolis Colts. It helps, but it's not going to make a difference. They're still going to lose. It's just going to happen. This is quite possibly almost one of the worst divisions in football, simply because you know the Tennessee Titans are going to be good. It's just a matter of are the Colts going to be able to contest them at this point? Because I've got them at 7-10. I'm not putting Houston anywhere above 4-13. I'm sorry, I just can't. Well, 4-13 is like.
Wait. Okay, so do we want to talk about Jacksonville next, or do we want to talk about Houston next?
Well, wherever it works.
Either or, I got one at 4-13 and the other one at 7-10 as its top possibility.
Okay, let's go back to Jacksonville because I think Griffin was starting to allude to a hot take, but I'll one up him.
Dude, don't do it.
Jacksonville, sneaky good team, 8-9. I think that
you
Trevor
are tapping.
Let me speak.
Cody, hold on. I had them as a ceiling. This is only as a ceiling. Like this is the highest of the high. Like, is that their ceiling for you, or is that like what they can get?
No, I think 8-9 is definitely optimistic, but for me, every year there's a second-year quarterback that takes a quantum leap and is just like, holy crap, this kid has got it. To me, that's Trevor Lawrence. He was the best one out of the whole group to begin with, and he did not have a fully fledged adult as his head coach. Okay, he had a head coach that was way better as a college guy and just couldn't keep it in his pants. Okay,
No, he was just way better at coaching college girls than he was at coaching a
wait a
professional
minute.
football
Let's,
team.
I think that and then
Got too
and
many
then-
pictures of him being up in the bar and then going, "What? I didn't know I was at a bar." Like, come on, dude, you know you were at a bar.
The other tidbit is everyone just kind of forgets about Doug Peterson. Like, Doug Peterson is an offensive guy through and through. He coached in a Super Bowl and beat frickin' Tom Brady with Nick Foles. Like, that's got to count for something.
You put some respect on my man, Big Dick Nick, okay?
Travis Etienne's going to be playing all year. Hopefully, he's coming off of that big injury where he was out all of last year. I watched a good bit of the preseason game that they played against the Browns. Just watching him, he's looking explosive again. And to me, like, they've got a lot of winnable games on their schedule. And when it comes down to second-year quarterbacks making a leap, and that happens every year, you got to pick one that's going to shock people and surprise people. And honestly, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are like primed to sneak up on people because
That's why I have them
everyone
as
thinks
a
of
high
them as-
possibility of 7-10. Nothing more. We're not sneaking 8 wins.
Okay.
Okay.
8 and
Listen,
9,
Ben, I
okay,
swear to
for
God, dude,
me-
if you've got like 10 wins for the
Wait.
Jaguars, dude, I will come across this screen so fast
look,
to smack you
okay,
into
you gotta-
affinity.
you gotta
You
understand.
won't even be able to know what year it is.
You gotta
I promise.
understand. You gotta understand.
Oh my
They're only
God.
gonna win 2 games. They suck ass. They're garbage. I have 3
Thank
teams
you.
going 2-15. They're
Thank you.
one of them.
Thank you.
I am not on this
Thank
Jacksonville
you.
train. Jacksonville
Thank you.
sucks. I do not think they're going to be good. When I look
Cody.
at a schedule, look, I know they've been really bad for a long time, so maybe there's some
True.
bias. You're like, oh, they won't have it together. But like, when I look, the keys are are they playing Houston? Are they playing Jacksonville? Are they playing Seattle? Are they playing Atlanta? Pretty much, and maybe like the Jets and the Giants. Like, if you match up with them in your schedule, I don't even have to think about it. I just give you a win. Like, and Jacksonville is still one of those teams for me. I have Houston slightly above them by getting 3 games, I think, because I have them, like, I think I have Houston managing to, like, take a BS game off of Indianapolis or Tennessee and then beating Jacksonville for both their games. Like, I don't think I have Jacksonville or Houston winning games outside of their division. Like, they just don't have an easy schedule, and they, like, yes, they could win those games. Like, obviously, like, y'all predicting ceilings. I think where they're going to end up is like 2-15, 3-14. I mean, I have no confidence in them to do anything.
Listen,
So.
listen. Okay, listen. All I'm saying is, Cody, it's not too late to come back. Okay, you can come back to sanity. Okay,
Yeah, you can come down from your 10
you
wins.
You can come down from your 8 wins or 9 wins, however many you gave them. Because all I can tell you, I'm not betting my money on a horse or a team or a horse that their offense was rated a negative 7.7 last season. That is the worst in the entire NFL, and a negative 3.7 defensive rating.
To be fair, though, they didn't have their running back. They lost their running back from day one. So,
Dude,
like, you would hope
don't.
that they look a little better with,
I
like,
don't.
they didn't have a
And-
first-round pick.
Yeah,
So,
and
like,
and
don't
also, unlike Houston, Jacksonville had a ton of picks, and they've had
Yeah.
a ton of picks for 2 or 3 years now. So
like,
Buddy.
they're on
Buddy.
the come up. They're
I don't
gonna
think
have
it's-
to get
I don't think
better
it's
at
this
some
year.
point.
I don't think it's this year that they make
I'll
the
give
jump.
them
I think
next
they
year.
have. I think they have a division that is doable because I think Tennessee, while they have had like reign on the division, like pretty consistently over the past couple of years, in terms of they
their
managed to eke out Indianapolis. I don't think either team is crazy good. I think Tennessee is going to win games because of Derrick Henry. Like, he is just that kind of generational talent where he is going to will them to wins. I don't see I don't see the firepower out of Indianapolis ever. Like, I don't think they've been good for a while now. I think they managed to win games because they're just not a bad team. They're just a middle of the pack team.
They're a well-run team, if nothing else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But, like, if Jacksonville can put pieces together, given now this could be their breakout year. I don't really feel it. I'm not on board yet. Next year, if they like show some promise this year and win a few more games than I have them projected to, you might see them being a number 2 in that division. I still think Houston has a lot of work to do. They've just they can't seem to stay out of the news enough and like actually put a team together. Just nothing excites me from this AFC South. Just does not excite me. Whenever I see them, I'm just like, like maybe the Titans and the Colts could win some games. Houston and Jacksonville are going to struggle throughout the whole year. That's just the way I see it. It's too like the AFC is just too strong in the division. They don't match up well against their NFC opponents that they have to play either. So it's like it's going to be a rough year for the AFC South. Like I think the fact that 10-7 is the highest that we have anybody in this division
kind of
speaks volumes.
It kind of speaks volumes to
how weak this division is in terms of, especially compared to the rest of the AFC.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, just to flip to Houston real quick, the way that you talk about Jacksonville and Houston as a package deal is definitely how I feel about Houston personally. Like I have Houston at 2-15. I like all the nice things that I just said about Trevor Lawrence being a second-year guy making a quantum leap. I don't see that for Davis Mills yet. Now, I think that Davis Mills is probably better than anyone ever thought he would be already. So he's only going to get better off of his, like, building on his ceiling. But I think that this team is still just reeling from the damage that Bill O'Brien has done to it. All of the players that they used to have promise in and they were invested in, they're all gone. And they never had the draft capital to replace them yet. So when we talk about teams that are still 2, maybe 3 years away from like even seeing what their true potential is, that's definitely how I feel about Houston. I just feel bad for them at this point because they're just they're one of those teams that are perpetually like going nowhere. They're like the new Cleveland Browns because apparently Cleveland's got it together a little bit more nowadays, maybe. But like Houston is just not. If you see Houston on the schedule,
it's almost a bye week.
I guess I'm getting at like if you see Houston on the TV schedule of like games that you're gonna get that day, you're just like, oh, well, that'll be a window that I'm just not watching football because it's just not exciting to watch currently. Yep. I don't know if anybody else had any groundbreaking things that they wanted to say about Houston. They've definitely crashed the rocket on that one.
4-13. That's it. That's all I got for you, buddy.
That's all you got for me? Griffin?
4-13.
I mean, I have a ceiling of 6-11. I just think that teams are just gonna just BS around and allow them to win 6 games. But besides that, I think that I feel like they should go like 4-13, but 6-11 I have them at just because I think they're gonna sneak away with a couple of wins. That's it.
Probably a lot of them are in their division. Probably like 4 of them are in their division, so it's not really. It's just disappointing.
To be fair, as hard as I was driving the Jacksonville bandwagon 10 seconds ago, I do have them splitting with Houston just to make it slightly realistic. So that was one of the 2 that I gave them, and then they also play Cleveland, which in my scenario is terrible. We already discussed that, so I just go ahead and wrote those 2 in, but it's a see you next year kind of deal for Houston. So
it'll be a 2-horse team in the AFC South, and if it's anything different, then I don't know what happened to Tennessee or Indianapolis at that point.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Next, baby. I got some spicy notes coming up.
Not about the 1-horse division or the 4-house division or the 4-horse division.
I think we'll start with the East and get it out of the way. AFC East coming at you here. This division is super easy to call. I think it's Buffalo or nothing. to me. The rest of these teams, I got nothing else good to say about them. I'll be perfectly honest.
DJ, I'm waiting on this.
Me and
I'm
Ben,
excited for this.
me and Ben were all Buffalo last year, and honestly, I feel like we may have just been a year early. But I got Buffalo at 14-3, just running away with this division in general. I don't believe in the rest of what we got going on here.
Oh, I know what your hot take is, and you're full of shit. Oh well. Yeah, Buffalo's going to win this division. I also have them 14-3, which is pretty much what they like. Didn't they do that last year? Where were they last
11
year?
and 6. Get it right.
Okay, so they didn't perform as well last year. They lost a close game to Tampa in overtime. They lost a close game to New England. They lost a 9-6 against Jacksonville. That one kind of...
Yeah, that was one
That
of
one's a
those
little
like
concerning.
weird games that happened,
Okay.
and everyone was like, "Oh, that'll be."
I mean,
a
all
fun
their
tidbit.
losses except for their first one is within 4 points. So
Yeah.
they're except for Indianapolis, they lost 41-15. That one's kind of rough. But other than that, I mean, they should. If you take out some of those losses that are kind of like,
Head
like
scratchers.
you actually lost those, okay? Like they're looking at 14-3. They're looking at 13-4. I mean, they should be. Given how strong that the rest of the conference is, I don't think the division is quite strong enough to seriously contest them for the top spot. I think they could potentially have somebody that is a couple games behind them, maybe 3 to 4 games behind them. I don't think it's going to be, but I still don't think they're going to be competing for the top spot at the end of the season. I think Buffalo will probably be able to sit everybody for the last game of the season, week 18, because it's entirely possible that they have their spot
Everything
locked up.
wrapped up. Yeah.
Yeah, and depending on what the other teams do, they could have the first seed locked up. So it kind of, if Buffalo does what Buffalo should do on paper, then I mean, they should beat the heck out of people. Devin Singletary, I think, is going to have a really good year. He's been a decent running back the past few years. I think he's going to have a breakout year and have like a really good year where he's in probably the top 5 to top 7 running backs on the year. And I'm expecting the rest of their passing offense to do really, really well. Their defense has been pretty good. So I expect good things from Buffalo. I think if they're not the division leader, it's a bad year for them. So, the expectations for Buffalo should be high, and I think they can meet them. So,
Griffin, let's hear from you before DJ raises his
Mr.
hand
Hot Take
again
over
for
here.
hot takes.
I mean, I don't know what DJ has to say. I mean, I'm probably going to believe in whatever he says at this point in this division. But, I mean, I've got Buffalo going 12-5. Realistically, I don't see them getting up to 14 wins. I know that they should, but I just don't see it. I got New England coming in at 10-7. They're going to sneak into those playoffs, and I don't think everyone's giving them enough credit. But, I mean, Buffalo, bro, I can't give them 14 wins like you guys, but 12 wins I think is what they will earn.
You should go back and watch last year's video because me and Ben were like all
were we
Buffalo the
15-2 or like 16-1?
I think I said
the template.
16
I saw the
1.
template for it, and I was like, what was happening here? Like, what went through y'all's brains at this point? Because, like, that was...
that they were going to beat Jacksonville. That was pretty much they were going to beat Jacksonville and beat the Steelers. That was the kicker. And that puts us at our, 14 wins. So
They look good on paper, but, like, at the end of the day, like, they struggle for some reason. I don't know why, but they struggle sometimes.
I think it's a lot because their offense was kind of unbalanced. They were kind of doing running back by committee. And I think Singletary towards the end of the season kind of ended up being the number 1 guy. And I think he set himself up to have a really good season.
I
14 is a lot of wins.
I also
given,
think the
but-
addition of James Cook into that running back mix is like a sneaky good draft pickup for them. And then also the guy Matt Ariza is just like bombing punts, so they're gonna like win the kick game. You see this guy like kick an 82-yard punt?
Oh yeah,
I mean, it just
he
tore
kicked
the
it from
hide
like
off
the
the
9-yard line and crushed it all the way to the
to a
goal.
touchback.
Well, with
Yeah,
the way that the social media team is gonna like portray him, he's gonna get kicker whatever award that they do. He's automatically got kicker of the year like in the bag.
Well, and also when he's playing late November or early December games in
That ball's
Buffalo,
gonna fly.
and there's like a 10-mile-per-hour wind behind him, he's gonna put it in the end zone every single time.
Yeah,
The ball's gonna fly. But
like I just don't see Buffalo getting 14 wins. Like
It's hella optimistic, but
I mean, maybe I'm just smoking something that you guys aren't, but I mean, 14 just seems 2 wins too high for me. I think 12 wins.
I'm
I
sure
mean,
that DJ's gonna
hey,
redefine what we got.
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
I'm sure DJ's about to just like blow our heads off with this hot take. So
can I
another
predict your
alert.
hot take? Can I predict your hot take?
Jets are gonna go 17-0, baby.
No. I got his hot take. All right. Tua Tagovailoa is going 13-4 and winning the division. The Miami Dolphins, baby. Dan Marino is back. The ghost of Dan Marino wills this
Lord.
team to an NFC East division championship.
So before I start my take, it's not that steep. Relax. But hear me out. I think on paper you've got 3 of the best football teams in the world. Literally in the same division.
No.
Being the Buffalo Bills, the New England Patriots, and the Miami Dolphins. Hear me out.
Yeah,
Hear me out. I operate everything in ceilings. I think the ceilings for the Buffalo Bills this year are 10-7, and I'll explain. I will explain. Give me a second.
I'm about to have to.
I think the Patriots, their ceiling is 10-7, and I think for the Miami Dolphins, they have an 11-6 ceiling.
You mean to tell me that?
Listen.
No,
listen,
wait.
Listen.
No.
Let
Let me
me
see.
take our caps off.
What you want?
Let me
What you
see.
want?
DJ railed the line before making his freaking predictions, man. I swear.
How were you thinking when you said 11-6?
Holy.
Listen. Okay. My thing is, especially when it comes to the Miami Dolphins camp, right? The Dolphins had a really bad offensive line that basically couldn't keep Tua upright. Dude was running for his life half the time. They've made really great improvements to their line over the offseason. They still have a great running game, and they've added some definite firepower. They've had a decent running game. I'm not saying it's the best running game.
Say that again with your chest.
They have a decent running game.
Myles Gaskin sucked last year.
Dude, relax. Okay? Relax. I think they have real talent at wide receiver between Tyreek and Waddle, who are going to literally
give you that.
burn people. And as
Can't
long as
disagree
Tua
there.
still remains as one of the most accurate quarterbacks, I think it'll be fine. I think Tua has something to prove this year, because I think if he doesn't do it this year, he will be a backup quarterback. He will turn into Matt Flynn. And every team will just pick him up because if your main quarterback gets hurt, he can come in and win games. I think if he's got that type of a chip on his shoulder, he's got to wall out, because this is literally the biggest investment this team has made to date to win games. You bring in Tyreek, you got Waddle, you've got 2 of the fastest wide receivers in the league. You got to do something, right? I think the stars are aligned for this team to make something happen. Okay, my reasoning for 10-7 with the Buffalo Bills, even though Singletary had a absolutely amazing season last year, we're also still forgetting the fact that this fucking team had Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders on it, who, let's be honest, were the two primary targets that this man was throwing to, that they then had to make sure they were bringing people into extra coverage just so they couldn't throw it over the top, which made it really easy for Singletary, on top of still having Stephon Diggs.
I
Right?
was about to say, were you not?
So your
issue
is you went from having Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, and Emmanuel Sanders, a legitimate, like, this year New Orleans Saints level wide receiver core, to like Stephon Diggs and company. Now all I'm worried about is covering Stephon Diggs. I think you have a legitimate reason for saying some of these teams will be able to win games off of them because they're not as potent as they were last year. Yes, they had the highest offensive rating at a freaking 5, right? On the scale. But that's also with the weapons that they had. I do not believe that they are packing the same firepower that they did last season to warrant them winning 14 games. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Now, I think their defense is the truth, and if you look statistically on paper, the Patriots also had a really good defense, being tied with the Bills at a 4.8. So, literally, I think Mac Jones is going to come. He already had a fantastic developmental year last year and stumbled their way to 10-7. Which was incredible because we all know that Bill Belichick doesn't draft wide receivers. He literally was in an interview the other day talking about how he loves to bring a very untalented white guy onto the team because it makes everybody better. Like, they actually have good players on their team that can push them to wins, and that's why I think these are three of some of the strongest teams in football this year, with the moves that they made in the offseason, with the Bills getting a tad bit weaker because they no longer have Mr. Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders, who were big contributors to that offense, which made Stephon Diggs look like he should have won a freaking MVP trophy. Because, let's be honest, he was a big key to it, but let's not forget the other pieces. It's like saying, oh, well, the year that Michael Thomas held the catch record, let's not forget the wide receivers that were around him, right? With that gone, he becomes the key focus. If he becomes the key focus, I think they have a legitimate case for saying some of these teams can take wins off of them. That's all I'm saying.
I think that they can lose games. I have confidence in them to win a lot. I don't think Miami has the stuff to be that good.
See, that's why they're one of my teams to watch.
Yeah,
they're not one of my teams to beat. They're one of my teams to watch because I believe this team on paper has the potential to get there.
I can accept that Miami would be one of your teams to watch, but the fact that I'm looking at Tua's first year threw 11 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, and the next year he threw 10 interceptions along with 16 touchdowns. I'm just not sold yet.
That's why I'm saying I think this is the year that he has something to prove, because I don't think if he doesn't do it this year, they're going to get somebody else. Period. You might see some stuff where it's like
after this, if he doesn't do what they want him to do this year, I think that they give him one more year.
I think it's going to be 3 strikes and you're out, man. I think they will go 3 strikes and you're out. I think they're going to make a quick phone call to the 49ers, say, "Hey, how much you want for Jimmy G? We want him."
Yeah.
Now, you say that because it's Miami and they haven't been successful over the years, and they're just like, we just need someone new. We just got to get them real fast, something like that. Or
need somebody that's going to win football games before Tyreek Hill's contract is up and we can't pay him the next year.
So here's my thing with Miami.
You can afford Waddle because he's cheap. You picked him up as a rookie. He's cheap.
I mean,
the
Miami's
issue
rough for me, man.
is Tyreek. If you want Tyreek again, you're going to have to pay that kid a bag, and I mean a big bag. So I think they're sitting there saying, okay, this new coach, look, we've actually got a new coach, we've got new staff, right? We're getting things running, yada yada yada, cool, everything's all fine and dandy, but let's not act like, that they're not sitting there going, man, if we don't
Get
win
it
this
together.
year, we're going to have to look for something else to try to get us some wins. And
So-
that's what I'm saying. Some of the quarterbacks that are going to be open in this market, I'm not saying get somebody in the draft, but I'm saying some of the quarterbacks that are going to be open to looking for new teams, you're gonna sit there and question, is Tua our guy? I think if he comes out and has a career season this season, keep the interceptions down, stay upright, don't get hurt, throw some accurate passes, you've got a legitimate yes in there.
Yeah.
They will keep him and they will say, you're our guy, we trust in you. And I think that comes off of the back of having a season where you have 10 wins, 10 plus wins.
I think
and
they
will
want to
him.
keep. I think they want to keep Tua. I do think they think that Tua is their guy. That he just hasn't proven it yet. Here's my problem. I look back at their games last season. I know they've made some upgrades, and it's a very different Dolphins team. Last season, the only win that stands out to me is the Baltimore win. I guess they had 3. They beat New England twice. I don't think they do that this year. They beat Baltimore, but Baltimore kind of had a skid there. All their other wins: Houston, the Jets, Carolina, New York, Giants, the Jets again, New Orleans with Ian Book. So they managed, and plus the 2 New England games, they managed to eke out at 9-8, and I think that's a good year for them. At 9-8 last year, like I think they overperformed where they should have been. I don't see they have a harder schedule this year. I think New England got better. I think Buffalo got a little worse, but I don't think Miami is good enough to compete with Buffalo. Their schedule's not easy, and so it's one of those things where if this is like your current schedule, yeah, you caught the AFC North as your other teams to play. So like you have to go play Baltimore, you have to play Cincy, you have to play Cleveland, you got to play Pittsburgh, and then you caught
Well, I
Lions are a free win.
I gave them the Bengals game because of Mr. Apple and Tyreek Hill and him have a history of him letting him catch 70-yard touchdown passes because he burned him 20 yards back.
We'll see about that one. But
Yeah.
I don't think Chicago's a free win for them. I don't think Minnesota's a free win for them, and I definitely don't think Green Bay is a win. I don't think Green Bay's a win for them. They also caught the Chargers and San Fran. Like they have a harder schedule this year compared to last year, and it's going to be
harder.
It's hard for me to justify them that it's hard for me to justify those upgrades for their spots. I think I have Miami at 6-11. Really, I think they're probably 7-10.
6-11. You think they're going to play worse than last year?
I think they're going to. I think their schedule is a lot harder. Their schedule is a lot harder. I think they don't beat New England twice. That was like a lot of their wins, and I think they had a lot of gimme wins last season. Miami hasn't really convinced me over the past few seasons, and even with their upgrades, I find it hard for me to say, yes, Miami is going to win this game, especially because Tua hasn't proven himself yet. He should be on the warpath because he wants his job, and he probably wants to get a bag once he comes up for contract renegotiation. But he's going to have to come out and ball, because if he's not doing that, this team is not going to win games. Because their running game has not looked strong. They're literally running back by committee right now. It's Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, who has glass legs, and Myles Gaskin did nothing last year in terms of offensive production. A lot of that was because their passing game didn't do a lot. What won the games for them last year was defense, but the thing was their defense didn't play anybody. Like, you played the Jets twice. You ended up playing Jacksonville. You ended up playing Houston. You ended up playing the Saints with Ian Book. Like, you ended up playing a lot of bad teams when they got their wins, and so they squeaked to 9-8. I don't know if they're able to recreate that. I think they'd have to get super lucky. Realistically, 7 or 8 wins. I think because of the way that I have my head-to-head matchups, I have them at 6-11, solidly at 3rd in the division. But also, I'm pretty hyped about New England. I have New England at 11 wins, at 11-6. So I think because of that, Miami is going to struggle because I have both Buffalo and New England at high. I don't think they win against either team, even though Miami is New England's kryptonite. I think that New England brings it back. I think Mac Jones has a really good year. Sits at 11-6. Miami struggles in this division.
Look, I get it.
So
I
it
get
sounds
it.
like
I'm the odd man out in this scenario.
well, it sounds
Right?
like
I get
all
it.
the
It's
hype
okay.
that it's DJ. It sounds like all the hype that you have for Tua, Ben is going to have that when we get to talk
Jones,
about New
baby!
England. Just for me, like on Miami, like I have them at 9-8 again, which I feel like is a solid year. And DJ, like the way that you were setting it up, like why they do well, or like the kinds of things that Tua is going to see and like why he wants to ball out. I agree with all your points of like the setup, but I just don't believe in Tua as much as you would as a Alabama fan. And I just don't think that he's the long-term solution. Like I think he's a real like I would want to have Tua on my team. Like he seems like a really nice guy and a really good teammate, but in a division where you got to play hard road games in the AFC in the winter and you've got to throw a ball that cuts through the wind. Now, he's deadly accurate. I'm not going to knock him on his accuracy, but he's a smaller dude and he just doesn't have the kind of arm that you need to win AFC playoff games is really my only knock against him. Now, maybe, again, if he comes out and he balls out, then he's on the same pedestal with Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, who he was drafted with. Like that should be his personal self-improvement goal this year is like I want when everyone brings up my draft class, I don't want to be the worst one in it. Like I get it. But just personally, I don't believe in him this year. Maybe honestly, I think a 9-8 season warrants them keeping him, and then he gets another year to develop the chemistry with Tyreek, and maybe they get other pieces to fill in holes that are exposed this year, and then maybe the next year is where he gets his shine. But personally, I have Miami just staying at 9-8. Let's see. I don't have them in the playoffs, but that's only because of how other things shake out. I would love to see them in a playoff game because I think when you have explosive weapons on the outside like Waddle and Hill, like they're the kinds of guys that just blow it open if you're not paying attention. If you match up against Eli Apple in a playoff game and you're like, hey, guess what? I'm going to run all over you, then they could scare people. But personally, I'm too lukewarm on them to put them up to that level. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I want to know how Griffin feels about this.
Listen. Before Griffin roasts me, because Griffin's usually been like semi on my side. He's been my boy throughout this entire process. So like, let me caveat what Cody said real quick, because he brings up a really, really good point on why I have a little amount of faith in this roster, which is yes. I get what you're saying and bringing up the points last year, but we have to accept the fact that teams change, things change, they add different people, they try to address where their weaknesses are. And the thing is, from the weaknesses that Miami had last year, I 100% believe that they made changes that they needed to make. They've got more explosion on offense. They're going to free up some more time for their running game. They're going to keep their quarterback upright. And their defense is still decent. So I can't realistically say. I think they'll be able to go with a team in a shootout, right? But I'm not saying that like, I'm not just going to write them off and say, 6-7 or 9-8. Like I think they have potential to win 11 games and surprise a lot of people just with the explosive power that they have in itself. Because then it's like, okay, cool. Well, now they're also keeping him upright, but now we also got to care about, well, he's upright, and let's not forget, like, he can't run. He can run. Like,
I don't think that's his strength.
If he starts,
not as well as he used to be able to.
I mean, not as well as he used to be, but I'm saying is if he's using his legs just to extend the play a little more, to give Tyreek time to get that separation, to get Waddle to get that separation, it becomes a little bit of a different ball game, right? And so that's all I'm saying. I'm taking into the factors of what they have, and it would not surprise me if they etch out 11 wins this season. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
all I'm saying is, how many times a game can Tua like try to extend a play to that extent to Waddle and Tyreek? Like how many times can this man run over? Do you know what his leg has been through?
Dude, I'm going to call my boy in the West, and he can answer the question for you. Because let's be honest, half of the immaculate plays that this bright-skinned, beautiful man was making was literally off of running to the right for a couple of seconds, saying, oh, he's somewhere down there, and just chunking it 70 yards. So,
Okay, all right. That was at Alabama. This is
No, he's talking about Mahomes and
He's talking about
Mahomes.
he's talking about Mahomes and Tyreek.
Not
Comparing-
Tyreek. But you literally, I'm not saying that he has to be like Mahomes. The thing is,
I think that Mahomes had way better targets that they had to focus on just about everyone around them than just two specific targets.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm just an Alabama hater. I probably am. I mean, I hate them a lot, but I think that
Where the real hate's coming from.
It's tough to have that much faith in Miami, I feel.
so you have two targets. Who else do you have?
Mike
Man, don't make
Gesicki,
me-
the
I guess you have
whole
Mike
roster.
Gesicki as a tight end, who's not a terrible tight end, but then like running back by committee, I'm not jazzed in. So like a backfield
They-
screen doesn't seem to work, and Gesicki is really like he's a solid tight end, but I think he's enough to
not a
like
top tier.
That's-
propel.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I just don't see it. And
Look, you got what? I mean, like Ben said, it's still running back by committee, right? You got Chase Edmonds, you got Raheem Mostert, you got Sony Michelle.
I think
Like-
the problem is you only have two weapons. You have two weapons that you can truly trust, and Waddle. There were games where Waddle struggled a little bit last season. Admittedly, he was the only guy to really throw to, but there were games where
he didn't have a chance.
there were games where he struggled to get to really show his stuff and get open and stuff like that because he was playing against really good defenses. They're still going to be against really good defenses. Like, I think.
I just
Wait,
I
did
just
you say
think
you
that
had him, Griffin?
I have them at 8 and 9. I think that their schedule
That's respectful.
is just too tough for them to get to 10 wins. I just think that that's how it's going to be.
Yeah.
I know
disagree
DJ.
with you.
We're actually
We're all,
pretty
like,
tiered on this.
right
I'm kind of
in-
glad
right
that
in,
we're like.
It's a
not all
nice
the
little
same.
sandwich.
That's what-
Like,
Yeah,
it's
you
a
got-
little
You're
sandwich.
up here, I'm
Yeah.
down here, and then y'all two are at 9 and 8 and 8 and 9. That's like
It's just
feel like
I
it's
just
hard
have to see it. I just
Yeah.
don't have enough faith in it right now.
I would
think-
love to believe
I
in
would
them.
love to be proven wrong. I would love to see it for myself and be proven wrong by Tua. I would love to see that this year because I think he's an absolutely great person, a great teammate, everything. I want to see him succeed, but I need to see it first. I'm just going off of the previous stats.
That's how I feel about Mr. Lance with the 49ers.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's
I
fair.
need to see it.
That's
I believe what you're saying, and I agree with you. I still need to see it. It's just that my gut feeling, it could be indigestion, like I've had that issue. It could be indigestion, but my gut feeling right now is that they can get to 11 wins. That they can get there. The stars will align if they stay healthy. They can get there. Like I said, any person that adds Teron Armstead in my book is just like you're just asking
You've
to
got
keep
a better.
somebody.
You've got a better team now.
Look,
Like
DJ, I'm
you
not
added
saying-
Armstead and you added the guard from the Cowboys who kept Dak pretty upright. He wasn't on the side that ended up breaking his ankle. He was on the other side, keeping that guy away from. So like.
I mean,
Look, I'm not saying that 11 wins is unreachable, but I think that would probably be with their schedule. That would be the the absolute ceiling that they can reach this year.
I agree with
That'd
you.
be a crazy. That'd be a crazy good year.
That would
And I
be
agree with
amazing
you.
for them.
Well, I would agree with you, and then next year, y'all be like, yo, what other teams you have a crazy gut feeling about? Because then you'd be like,
there
this
when we
dude
get
might
there.
be
He's
the
still betting on the
prophet.
Cowboys to only win like 6 games or some shit.
No.
So
Cowboys are trash. What
But,
do you need me else to
I'll-
say? I had this conversation with a guy in the barber shop. They are trash. Accept it. Accept
Anyway.
it.
Okay.
where do you? Okay, does anybody have a hot take on the Jets
6-11. Hot
or
take.
or the
Sizzling.
Patriots?
Let's
Really, you
take-
got them higher?
Let's go
Wait,
with.
wait. Is that-
okay.
is that assuming-
The same as DJ. Let's go.
Let's
6-11, dude. Who thinks? And then what? And honestly, I should put them lower now that they're starting QB like
Yeah.
Papa and meniscus or whatever he did in their
Yeah.
preseason game
Not-
the other weekend.
The MILF Hunter gonna go crazy, bro. I'm telling you.
Oh, hit him.
Non-contact knee injuries are never a good sign, but I also
Dude,
have,
if you watch the
look,
play,
I
I was
also-
like,
I also have the Jets at 6-11, but I feel like you could just pencil them in at like a 7 or below pretty much every year.
smart man.
I mean,
I'm waiting for Ben. I'm waiting for Ben.
I'm unique. I have them at 5 wins, so
Oh,
I
there
don't
you
know.
go.
But
Alright,
yeah, it's
alright.
nothing, it's nothing crazy. They're gonna be probably the 4th like in the division. I don't think they have it yet, but like they
I don't
go
know.
up and down.
Like you're about to take them up to like 9 wins for some reason.
Yeah, man, I think they're the number 2 in the division. They're making the
Yeah.
playoffs. I think they haven't done that since like Joe Namath, maybe.
maybe
Back in, like, the 60s or
well,
whatever.
I mean, they were making the playoffs with Mark Sanchez, but
Guy, man.
that's about
They
it.
made the playoffs with butt fumble.
Dude,
Yes.
they went to 2 straight AFC championships.
Was
games with that
Sanchez?
man.
Yeah.
I
Ain't no
like,
way.
straight
Y'all
forgot
didn't
that they did
remember that, dude? Mark Sanchez was like legendary for them,
I don't
dude.
remember them doing that well. Did they really do that well?
He was the
Yeah.
franchise.
Oh wait, that's
man.
right. Buffalo was garbage back then. Never mind.
They were
Yes.
terrible.
I forgot that Miami and Buffalo were both like absolute dog shit.
They
back
were
then.
memes.
Terrible.
They,
Yeah,
you
and
literally
so,
were
like-
like, "Oh, you're playing the Dolphins, lol." Like,
Yeah, and then the Jets and then the Jets like took a page out of I don't know, freaking the Giants playbook, and we're
Yeah.
like, you know what?
oh, they
let's
took
do
a
this.
page out of the
The Browns.
Lions playbook.
That Lions playbook. There you go.
There we go.
But
Honestly,
yeah,
like
that'll be fine.
I think the team that we may have the most variance on in this division is probably New England. I'm at 8-9, which leaves them in 3rd. I just look they're another
9.
Mac Jones.
I mean, I could see it. I have them at 10
That's right. You have it at
and 7.
10-7. Yeah.
Mac
Everybody at, like,
Jones.
7 and 11,
Mac
6.
Jones. Like all the stuff that's been coming out in camp where he's just like not playing great is
Well-
one thing to worry about. I feel like they're kind of the team that has the least amount of weaponry to use in the offense. So unless they're
That's
gonna
fair.
get into like 14-10, 17-14 kind of games, I don't see them keeping pace with other AFC teams in terms of scoring. And the fact that they still don't have a clear offensive coordinator voice, and it's
Well, look, man.
and it's August 19th is definitely not the way that you should be doing things, and that just
Probably
feels like
not.
that's going to be a hindrance. It may not be a hindrance when they play bad teams, because Bill's good coaching is probably going to be enough to carry them against bad teams on their schedule. But when they face teams where you have to have all of your ducks in a row to beat them, the fact that you still don't have a clear voice at offensive coordinator to replace Josh McDaniels, who's now with the Raiders as the head coach, just doesn't feel like that's a sustainable choice when you get into the dog days and you're playing against Buffalo for your playoff life, or you're playing against like Miami for your playoff life. That doesn't feel like the kind of position you want to be in. Now, 8-9 to me, with everything that I just said, feels kind of generous. But again, they kind of get the coaching buff just like the Steelers get, and they get the benefit of the doubt until I see that a team coached by Bill Belichick is just a complete and utter mess. But I don't have a ton of confidence in them, and I feel like 20 points is probably enough to beat them on any given Sunday.
Probably so.
I was gonna say I give them the actual coach buff, unlike y'all did with the Steelers, like some crazy people.
I have the Pats at 11-6, which is pretty good. It's actually a really good season for them. I think they actually match up decently on the schedule. The problem is their last 6 games are literal hell. They have Buffalo twice, Arizona, Vegas, Cincinnati, Miami, and the last game is at Buffalo, which will most likely be like a pretty impactful playoff game. So that's just gonna be those are gonna be tough. 11-6 is pretty generous for them. But I think just given the way that I have the rest of the division, where I do have Miami on the lower side of wins, that gives New England the edge to make it into roughly that 5th or 6th seed wild card spot. I don't think there'll be anything absolutely crazy, but I think they will be a pretty good team. I think Mac Jones is going to have a really good year. Now that he's kind of had his time to work with the offense and get in there. I know there's been some rumors about not performing very well. I think he'll get over those and come out and play pretty well. He does have I think the first 2 games are pretty easing him into it, Miami and Pittsburgh. I trust him to win both of those. Then he kind of gets a couple hard ones with Baltimore and Green Bay, but then he gets what I would consider really easy ones. He has Detroit, Cleveland, Chicago, Jets, Indianapolis, Jets. So I'm kind of relying on them to win pretty much all their games from week 5 to week 12 in order to achieve 11-6. So if they do that, but they'd have to light it up within that time. But I think those are all very winnable games for them. You have a Watsonless Cleveland. Detroit is Detroit. The Jets are still the Jets. Indianapolis, we've already talked about how we don't really see them going super far or doing anything crazy. We kind of see them just middle of the road. While I was high on Chicago, I don't think they beat New England. I think New England edged them out there, and I think Minnesota isn't much to write home about, so they should be able to win. I want to say they should win all those games. If they don't, then they're going to struggle to reach the playoffs probably. So if they're able to do that, 11-6 is perfectly doable. Realistically, they're probably a 9 or 10 win team. If they play well, they should be an 11 win team, and I think they can do that and get to 11 wins. So,
Griffin, what you got on the Patriots?
I've got them at 10-7. I've got them at 6-2 at home, 4-5 on the road. The last 6 games, I've got them winning against Buffalo, losing to Arizona, losing to Las Vegas, winning against Cincinnati, losing to Miami, and then losing to Buffalo at Buffalo. And they're going to be a solid team. I just think with Mac Jones and with the head coach, they're just going to be solid, just all around.
Yeah,
it should be a hard game to play.
I don't really know what else to say about them. They've got a solid team.
They don't have superstars, so because if they did have superstars,
their motto, man.
Well, no, but if
their
they
motto has been a ton of average guys that you. It'd be a ton of average guys that you don't think should win football games, and then they win football games, and you're like, I guess.
That's because if they did have superstars, they'd probably be a front runner to win the conference. If you had if you had some more weapons on your team, you'd be a front runner to win the conference. But Damian Harris is sneaky good in the running back position. They literally just have a hodgepodge of wide receivers: Devontae Parker, Jacoby Myers, and Kendrick Bourne. None of those guys are a number 1 on another team. That being said, they are number 2s on another team, but none of them are number 1. You do have Hunter Henry now at your tight end spot, so that could help you out. He's been,
The red
pretty
zone.
solid throughout he's been pretty solid throughout the years in Tennessee. So like, if they're able to make that work, I mean, their defense is the thing that helps them the most. So, if their offense, if Mac Jones does what he could do, you should be hyped about Mac Jones. He's your Alabama boy. So, I think he'll have a pretty good year.
DJ
And,
just has to be a homer for
Predicted
every
at
Alabama
10-7,
player.
dude.
we're all pretty
Right in there.
sold on New
Yeah.
England doing fairly well.
Mhm.
I think that's just because, like, even when they're mediocre, they still look good. Like,
Yep.
they just end up losing to the Dolphins every game. That's the biggest thing, is they
In
the Dolphins are
Miami.
just their kryptonite. Yeah, in Miami. They just lose the last game of the season to Miami, and it's just like,
There goes
everything
the
is
season.
ruined.
Yeah.
So, which I have them doing, by the way. I have them losing in week 17 or no, I have them winning week 17.
Versus
I have
Miami.
them versus Miami.
That one's not at Miami. The at Miami.
The hard
game
ones,
is
the hard ones that
it's
I
at
have
home.
them.
The at Miami is the first game of the year. Week 1.
is
Just
it?
get it over with.
That's gonna be a tough one.
I got them losing that one. I actually have them losing both Miami games.
Yeah, it's their kryptonite.
Yeah, I
it
did
is their
too.
kryptonite.
I just have it happening.
I have them.
Yeah.
The way I have them set up for those last 6 games is they lose those first 4, and so they have to win those last 2 to get from 9 wins to 11 wins, and it's gonna be like damn near impossible for them to do. But like,
you got them.
I want
doubling
to.
up
So
on
the reason I
Miami
have
and
them
Buffalo.
beating Buffalo is because I think Buffalo will pull their starters for that game
Fair.
and like give New England the win, because they don't want to get them hurt. But New England will like increase their wild card slot. I think New England probably will have their wild card slot locked in at that point. Because at that point I have them at 10 wins, so I think they lock in their wild card slot there as like the number 2 or number 1. So it's gonna be really weird. There's a lot of really good AFC teams this year, so like the wild card slot is very competitive.
Yeah, so that's the perfect segue, I think, to the AFC West, which for
The AFC best.
Yeah, for me, like
Jesus.
this division is easily the deepest division in football. This is just like, for me, I have it really wild. So I think we're gonna switch it up a little bit, and we're just gonna have each person talk about the division as a whole and just run through it, because I feel like out of the 4 of us, we may have 4 different division winners in 4 different orders. So it's going to be impossible to talk about teams consistently. I have Denver winning the division. I think that Russell Wilson walking into a team that was ready-made to win games last year.
I need you to say that one more time. I need to repeat.
I was half asleep and you woke me up, boy.
Heard that clearly.
Crap! I need you to say that one again. Run that one
He
back
did
by
say
me.
he did say he was. We all might have different takes.
Yeah.
So what you got for me?
Okay.
Set it up on purpose like that.
Yeah, I did. My take is that Russell Wilson literally took a year off in Seattle and was just waiting and hoping and praying that he would get dealt to a team that actually had some fucking pieces.
My man's is cooking.
And I think that Russ wins this division. I'm not saying that it's a blowout, so let me get through the whole order, okay? But I think
Where do you have them win wise? How many wins?
I have Denver at 12-5. And I think that that's enough to win the division, because I have Kansas City and Vegas tied at 2-3 at 11-6.
Oh, you have the Chargers losing the division.
I have the Chargers at 4th, but at 10-7.
Holy shit.
Like, to me, this is the deepest division in football. Like, the back and forths. Literally, I'm gonna be really sad. Hang on. I'm gonna be really sad when all of the divisional games, like, against these teams, are out of they're out of market. Like, you can't watch them, so you're gonna have to find a way to watch them, because I think every single matchup and every single game is just a straight up banger. I had pretty much a similar feeling last year about the NFC West, which kind of fizzled out after Russ wasn't really playing up to his
I don't know.
standard.
We still had the three. They had
We
3
did
people
still
make
have-
the
we did
playoffs.
still
Okay, they
have
still played
three.
well.
We did still have 3, but like that same energy that we had last year
Yeah.
about the NFC West, which was the last division that we talked about, is like transplanted and put here. I think that Russ just is able to corral these young guys. Like they've got young dudes on both sides of the ball that are just like itching to play in meaningful games. Like I just don't see them taking any steps back. I think they're all forward, and it may be like a one-shot wonder kind of thing. Like I don't know how much they'll be able to keep all these people together, but to me, I think they've got just enough to win the division, and they've just been sitting on it. Again, I have Kansas City and Vegas tied at 11-6. I think Kansas City takes a step back not having Tyreek Hill on their team. Like I just don't see where their like offensive firepower, like over the top ability, I don't see where that comes in. Sammy Watkins is going to be alive for like 3 weeks, and then he'll just completely fall off the map. But that's like their one guy that can really take the top off. I think they're going to be relegated to having to do a lot more dinking and dunking, and I don't think that suits the way that they play football in general. So I have them taking a step back, and then I have Vegas taking a big step forward. I think adding Devontae Adams to any wide receiver room instantly makes it like a top 10 wide receiver room. And given that they have Derek Carr and Devontae have the pre-existing history by being college teammates, I think that that's enough to just like give them the edge that they've been looking for. I know DJ absolutely hates when I bring it up, but Hunter Renfrow is like kryptonite for everyone. And I feel like he is just the kind of player to supplement such an obvious connection from quarterback to wide receiver. Like if Green Bay had a guy like Hunter Renfrow last year, then Devontae would still be there. Like I think that's the kind of thing that Green Bay was lacking in a very similar structure of offense where you're not really looking for a ton of surprises. It's going to be how many times can I get this ball to Devontae Adams on a guy that he should not be covered by, and that's going to be the story. And then sadly, I got to put the Chargers in at the 4th seed in this division, but at 10-7, I think they're super respectable. And I think that if they were in the other half of the league, they would be a playoff team. But I think they just miss out based on how I have things shaking out. I think the Chargers, I do think Justin Herbert is that dude, and he's definitely going to be there for forever. And he's going to be like their guy for the foreseeable future. But I just don't think that he is a strong enough personality to overcome leadership differences between him and the other 3 quarterbacks in his own division. Again, if I could just pick up the Chargers and put them in the AFC South, they win it with their eyes closed. They're just in the wrong division at the wrong time, and they're just a little bit behind the curve. But again, I think this is a super volatile division where you could see any order. And I'm looking at 3 people that are like itching to tell me their orders. So whoever wants to go up next, feel free. DJ,
How about it?
If you want to roast him, Ben, you can go on ahead.
I don't want to go. I don't want to go right now.
I'll go. I'll tell
Have at
you.
it, D.
Y'all might
Have at
think
it,
I'm a
D.
little controversial, but
I can't go right now.
But listen, man, I'm listen. Okay, my note for the Denver Broncos was sadly with Russell, I believe this team will lose many games that they should have as wins. My ceiling for this team is 8-9 for the season. I have them last in their division, Copium Pack. Last.
Yep.
Why? Because the same crap that happened with Russell Westbrook, or Russell Wilson, my bad. I'm
Different
thinking
Russell.
basketball. Russell Wilson, different Russell.
do not respect this Russell
Brand.
with that Russell.
This one, games that they should have won in Seattle with arguably a more talented wide receiver core that should have won games lost them. So that goes to tell me that it's more than just a coaching issue. I do not believe that the Broncos are going to be able to win the games that they should win. Like, I think it's a game that I should be able to, it's a win. I woke up, I took a nap, the game was at noon, I woke up at 3:25 to find that they blew the team out by 20. It should be like that. But what's going to happen, somehow magically, somebody's going to stub a toenail, forget their nail polish that day, something, and they're going to lose 9 games. That's how I have the Broncos season playing out, if I'm being honest. 8-9, okay? Now, the next take is going to be a little more controversial. I've got the Raiders at like 9-8, but as a team to watch. I think Devontae Adams is a fantastic wide receiver, but I always have an issue with Mr. Eye makeup himself. Because, he literally always looks like he's wearing mascara. I don't know why, dude, but it's a little sus if you ask me. But, hey, to each their own.
He has some thick eyelashes.
Dude, I'm telling you. But, it's cool. You added Devontae Adams. You still got Hunter Renfrow and Josh Jacobs as a running back. Like, you still got something. But, I still don't think it's going to be enough to put this team over the edge. Now, I still think they're a team to watch, but not in the sense that you were, throwing Denver in there and then the Chargers somehow in last. I don't know what you were.
Regrettably, they have to be last.
But, my next team, who I think is going to go second in the division, is the Los Angeles Chargers at 11-6. Why? Because, like I said in my notes, Justin Herbert. It's Herbert, right, or is it Herbert?
It's Herbert.
Okay, we got the Louisiana version. Okay, I had to ask.
Doesn't spell it with the.
He's got an R in there.
Oh.
He's got 2 R's.
Justin Herbert, need I say more? Everybody thought this kid was, not going to be, anything, and literally turned out to be exactly what the Chargers needed, right? On top of that, they added even more talent with Gerald Everett, making them have, now an end-zone, red zone threat with just how big this guy is in the first place. So, you're sitting at a pretty good team that also has good red zone threats. So, I think easily I can give them a ceiling of 11 wins and 6 losses. Right? I think it's doable. Now, the last one, everybody's going to call me crazy. But, dude, I just feel like I can never put a bet against, Mahomes. Because, this dude has literally made magic come out of his tail for some games. And let's not act like just because they lost Sorensen and Matthew, they don't have a secondary all of a sudden. If anything, I can argue saying their secondary got better because they got rid of Sorensen, which was a liability from the start.
For those of you that don't know, if you go to YouTube, you can find a compilation of Tyrann Mathieu turning around and just screaming at Daniel Sorensen after blowing 4 games in a row. It's hysterical and worth a solid 5 minutes of dopamine. It's worth it.
It's quite funny. It's quite funny. He's like, "What are you doing?" Dude has no idea, which is why we're advocating for, we'll give him away for a McDonald's quarter pounder meal. We'll take it, dude. So I've got them at 12-5. Right? I've got them at 12-5. Now I know everybody's gonna sit there and say but they don't have Tyreek anymore, and they don't have blah blah blah. But we're not gonna act like a wide receiver core made of Marquez Valdez-Scantling, one of the greatest literal names from start to finish that I love in the NFL, simply because it just flows so nice.
And Jarvis Green, Alice, I raise you.
Dude,
The law firm.
they also got Josh Gordon on this roster.
Josh Gordon's
but-
on every roster. I don't think he's played it down in like
True,
3
but
years.
they also got Juju, and legitimately, like, look, man, I'm not a betting man, but like, you know, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, still a fantastic running back to say he's a small guy. Travis Kelce's still the best tight end in the National Football League, arguably up against Mr. Kittle himself, you know, Kittle Pot. But I just can't put my money against the Chiefs unless I see the Chiefs go from having one of the, if not the highest rated offense at a 5 to like maybe having a, let's say, a 2 or a 2.5 all of a sudden this year. Because I still think the Mahomes magic is real. There's a reason why they literally paid this kid the bag and a half, $500 million plus part ownership in the freaking team on top of this other stuff. If they didn't believe that this kid couldn't make a team win off of whatever you give him. And I truly believe that. So, that's my take. You know, take it with what you will. Please, someone else go.
I want to hear Ben. I want to hear Ben.
All right. So I don't have a lot of faith in Denver. I may have them lowest out of anybody. I have them at 7-10. And that's actually like a pretty high.
Man.
That's a pretty high in my opinion there, because they're just not, I don't think they're very good.
Hi, Team
But yeah, like 7-10 is the max. I think Russell Wilson will will them to a couple like wins. But yeah, I don't think their defense is going to be all that great this year. I think their offense is suspect. They don't really have a running back. Like you don't really have
Jerry Jeudy, man.
You do have Jerry Jeudy, and he was a bright spot for them, but he had Drew Lock throwing in the ball, so like,
Sure.
But like, yeah, I don't think Denver's going to be that good. 7-10, and that would be like, honestly, kind of lucky for them to get there. It was hard for me to give them a bunch of wins, but I ended up giving it to them just because they kind of don't play a lot of, they don't play as many hard teams. My third at 10-7 is Kansas City. I don't think they're going to make playoffs. The personnel switches at wide receiver, I don't know how to feel about it. I don't trust Schuster as much anymore after the past couple of years. I don't think he's going to be like a locker room issue or anything like that. Like, I think he'll be fine. I don't know if the TikTok stuff will really matter that much. Valdez-Scantling, I'm not sold on. I think he was a fine receiver in Green Bay. I'm just not fully sold on him yet. And then McCole Hardman was good behind Tyreek, but I think he was good because of Tyreek. So, like, Kelsey will still be Kelsey. Edwards-Helaire, I think, will be good. I don't think he'll be as good as he was last year. Mahomes will still be very good. So, like, they could still have a potent offense and win games. The biggest thing is I think that the other people in their division are better. So, I'm all for the Chargers this year.
I don't agree with you, but I'll let you have your take.
I'm all for the Chargers this year. I think they go 13-4. They're going to be very good. I know the Chargers have been like suspect as shit, where they just fumble the bag on a lot of their games that they should be winning. I think they're going to have a very, very good year. They're going to be crazy. They're going to be a very, very good team. But the Las Vegas Raiders are going 14-3 and winning the division. They are going to be lights out this year.
You're lying. You're lying.
You're lights out this year. They are my team to like come out and just crush everyone. All right, I have them at 14-3.
Is he done yet? Is he done? Is he done capping?
That's my hot take and my like.
He's not done yet. Okay.
Team.
No, he's not. He's still going. I don't know why.
Well, hey.
14-3.
Well, hey. Now, hey, we're about. Okay, DJ. You put your.
Going back.
Come. Now, okay, Griffin, I don't know who you have winning this division, but if you have the Chargers winning it, then we'd all have a different pick. That just goes to show how wild this division's going to be, but we're going to let Griffin take it away.
Not even basic. Why would you bet against Mahomes?
That's what I'm saying, bro. DJ and I had this down.
It's not hard.
It's really not that hard, bro.
If we go to Vegas, I'm putting. Even though I'm in Vegas, I'm still putting my money on Kansas City. Why is it that difficult?
I've got Denver and Las Vegas tied for third in the division at 9-8. 9-8. Is that so hard to understand? Okay, all right. Russell Wilson is not going to have the greatest year in the world. He's going to have a tough time in this division. Let's agree. Okay, Las Vegas. They're going to have breakout stars. Of course they are. They got Devontae Adams. Of course they did. But they're not going to be as good as Denver, in my opinion. Secondly, Chargers are going to go 11-6. 11-6. That's it. That's it. I like. Listen. QB is going to be great. He is, but he's only going to get 11 wins. How? And I'll repeat this after DJ. How the hell do you go and bet against the Chiefs? How do you go ahead and bet against Patrick Mahomes? Oh my God, he's making $500 million in a year. How do you do that? I don't understand. And then you have. I don't care that Tyreek left. I really don't care. Listen. If Juju Smith-Schuster came over to the team, listen, I know he had a bad time with TikTok and getting distracted or something like that. But look, if Patrick Mahomes can get past his brother and his bitch-ass wife doing what the hell they're doing on TikTok, yeah.
That's how you really feel.
Smoke on everyone. Dude, Jesus.
Patrick Mahomes can get past all of those distractions, then Juju can get past everything that everyone's been saying against him right now. I don't care what bleep you put on me right now. That's how I feel. They're going to go 13-4.
Respectable.
Solid.
Respectable.
I like how different we have.
I knew that this was going to be a minefield of different takes because whenever Ben and I did the NFC
He's just got
West,
the copium pack out, man. He's just like, I don't know if you, maybe you like eye makeup. Is it you like eye makeup? Is that what it is?
This.
Your mic peaked, and so I didn't catch like any of that. I
said, do you like eye makeup? Oh, I was going to say, I was like,
I think lip reading it. I think I heard I'm fired up about this, but
yeah,
Raiders are not going to make the playoffs.
Ben, I swear, dude, I will sit on Discord for every Raiders game, and we will talk about it. Every single one. Catch me on Sundays, man.
I think they're just going to be. I think they're going to like surprise a lot of people this year. It's crazy. It is very much a hot take.
Your take is hotter than mine on the Dolphins. And that's saying something. Because I got, like, controversial death threat looks when I said that the Dolphins were going to win 11 games. This is just craziness.
My biggest thing is, so I have Kansas City down 2 wins from last year. My biggest thing is Kansas City has been so good for so long, I think they're going to have a quote-unquote bad year for them. I don't think they're like 10-7 is still good.
Why?
I don't think they're as good as they are last year, and I think a lot of other teams got better. I don't think their wide receivers are as good as they were last year. I think losing Tyreek Hill.
Receivers, Tyreek Hill, he's just one guy. They were loaded with receivers, though.
I think losing Tyreek Hill hurts how they played football a lot more than it completely changes how they're going to utilize their pieces. So, but you still have Travis Kelce and you still have Edwards-Helaire. I think Edwards-Helaire had a absolutely fantastic year last year. I don't think he's going to have quite as good of a year. And I think just that combined, I don't think they're going to be as good. And I think, the Raiders up their game. I think the Chargers should have had a better year last year than they had, but they charged it too much. I think they're going to have a much better year. Because of that, Kansas City can't have as good a year based on the way that I have Las Vegas and that I have the Chargers. So
at the end of the year,
otherwise, they're still one of the better teams. So
at the end of the year, we'll talk about it.
I would love all three of those teams to make playoffs. I don't think they will, just because it's going to be very hard for three teams in a division to make playoffs out of the AFC. Because, like, the AFC South just shouldn't even fucking be there. That'd be great, because then you could have three teams from the divisions actually make it. But yeah,
listen, I know I've had a lot of teams that I've said that I want to see, like, prove me wrong, but I just can't see. No, it's not. Like, what? Like, I don't see. Like, what do you see that I don't? Like, I really want to know.
I guess
I see an Oakland team that has made playoffs the past few years and like been like good. Like Oakland last year was solid. They should have gone through and gotten to the playoffs, but they got that OT spot knocked out by the Chargers. Like, I think they should have been good last year, and they just didn't make it. Like,
I'm just gonna throw some stats at you real quick. Offensive rating, they had a negative 0.7, and they had a rated negative 2.6 based off of statistics for defense, which is by far some of the worst in the league.
And they still won 10 games. Or
it goes to talk about what the rest of the teams that they were playing, not necessarily them.
Good teams. They had some solid teams that they played against.
I'll piggyback with Ben as the only other person that picked someone that wasn't Kansas City to win the division. For me, like, obviously, I have Denver winning it with a ton of upgrades because
Cody, what are you on right now? Like, how do you have the Denver Broncos winning that division? I really want to know that.
Upgrading at the quarterback position is the most important position to upgrade at. It gives you the most credit. And I think that Kansas City is the other part of it is I think Kansas City is the only team in this division that I could definitively put my finger on and say they didn't get better. They didn't make any moves in the offseason that would lead me to believe that they got better. I think the argument for them is just to say they won't be any worse than they were last year, which I don't think is a strong enough argument in a division where everybody is making improvements. Vegas, they made the move. They went and got Devontae. The Chargers are getting better because Herbert is like 12 years old and he's barely old enough to deliver pizza. And Denver gets Russell Wilson, which is, I mean, everyone, like, having a bad year in Seattle, everyone just kind of forgets that he was there. But, like, he's one of the best quarterbacks that we have. Like, he's always the most prepared or the most adult person in the room, and he's the perfect kind of quarterback to come in to a team full of, like, young guys that have never been in big spots before. To me, it feels very similar to when Peyton Manning joined the Broncos, where you've got a bunch of dudes that you know that they can play because they've been flying all over the field in games that no one watches because they're on the West Coast and they lose some of those games. But, like, having the dude that can come in and go, no, this is how this is done. This is how we're going to do things now, and just follow my lead. That's the perfect situation.
But you're still missing a fundamental difference. One of them was Peyton fucking Manning, and the other one is Russell Wilson. You're missing a very vital point on that. Peyton Manning still is one of the most accurate quarterbacks to ever play the game, and Russell Wilson wishes he was that good.
We act like Seattle was dog shit last year, but they won 7 games. Like,
with Russell Wilson not trying.
Agreed.
They should have won.
He wasn't trying. He didn't want to be there anymore. That was pretty evident. I mean,
dude,
okay,
you're still going to play the game.
My position.
You're still going to go out there and play your best.
No, but he didn't
football.
play all the games. He didn't play in 3 games that season there. They had Geno Smith. So, like, they lost games with Geno fucking Smith. So, like, they are still a solid team, like, with Wilson there, and they were broken. Like, Chris Carson doesn't even play anymore because he broke himself. Like,
True.
You know, I mean, should they have probably performed better? Yes, I think so. Their defense gave up 51 points to frickin' Detroit. They gave up 33 points to Houston. Their defense was the problem last year, not their offense. So there is some merit to saying Wilson can still have it. Now, did Wilson put up good numbers on really any game? Other than the first three, not really. I don't think he had anywhere close to, he had 254, 343, and 298, which isn't very good in terms of yardage. You know, nothing crazy. He didn't hit 400 at any point last year. He only clips 300 one time. So, like, he didn't have a great year, but part of that being having such a bad defense and not having the opportunity, like, their time of possession, I can't imagine it's good if you're giving up that many points.
Probably
So,
not.
like, so, like,
Probably
if you don't have the opportunity to
averaging
throw the
less
ball a lot,
than 30.
like,
yeah.
yeah, if so, I mean, I don't know if he's going to leave. I don't think he's going to change Denver that drastically, but, like, he will definitely improve Denver by a significant margin. I just don't know if, like, the same way that your argument is, like, everybody else improved. I think that's the case, is everybody else improved, and, like, Kansas City is still Kansas City, so I can't justify Denver doing anything but losing the division just because of where they're at.
Okay, can I butt in for a second?
For sure.
So I understand that Peyton Manning is, and you can bleep me again, Peyton fucking Manning, but in his last season with Denver, he threw 59.8% in his completion percentage. Now, was that due to his defense being absolutely out of this world? Absolutely. That's what happened. But until then, he was probably averaging 68% completion percentage. Russell Wilson right now, 65. It's not bad. But last year, he only threw for 3,100 yards. It's not his greatest.
No, I mean, I guess I'll sum up my argument like this. I think top to bottom, Denver is better. Like, okay, the Denver team that Russell is joining, they're better top to bottom than they were when Peyton Manning joined them. And I think that Russell Wilson has 3 times as much left in the tank as Peyton Manning did when he joined them. Mm-hmm. So, to me, I think it's a similar situation, but I think the potential is even higher because Russell Wilson's not coming off of neck surgery. He's not in his late 30s. Like, this is a dude that's just been sitting on the shelf in Seattle waiting for a chance to get back in the game with a team that he knows can go out there and, you know, get big hits or get big plays, and he'll be happy to just be back in meaningful games. And I think that, like, top to bottom, the other 3 quarterbacks in the division, like, top to bottom, this is definitely the deepest quarterback division. And so I think you're going to see a lot of splits. Like, I would be shocked if anybody went 5-1 in this division. Like, I don't care who you have winning it. Like, 4-2 in the division plus a lot of out of division wins is how you win this division, because you're probably going to lose road games in the division. And that's why I was saying I'm going to be really sad when those are, like, out of market games that you can't get on basic cable, because I honestly think every single divisional game is going to be worth watching. And I definitely could be way off. Like, I think any one of these 4 teams could win it. Any one of these 4 teams could be last. Like, I think it's the most volatile division. And I think, for the most part, you could pretty much pencil in that at least 2 of these teams are going to make the playoffs. Doesn't matter what order you got them in. Doesn't matter how many wins you got them at. Like, 2 of these teams are going to be in the playoffs. And depending on seeding, we may have, like, a division-based playoff game, like, off the rip. So
I understand that. I have 2 of these teams, Chiefs and Chargers, making the playoffs, but, like, dude, I have to see something out of the Raiders and Broncos. Like, I understand. Like, a lot of people have been wanting to prove me wrong about other teams, but dude, the Raiders and Broncos, I just don't have the faith in to overcome the Chargers and Chiefs right now.
Yeah. I'm honestly really shocked that nobody picked the Chargers. Like, I feel like everyone was equally like, not ready to go that
the Chargers,
far.
they could easily take this thing. Well, maybe not easily, but they could take the division. I mean, if some wild stuff happens, they
want them to fill
could.
their stadium first, and then maybe we can.
Dude,
No one wants to. No, I mean,
Dude,
like, that's just a given.
honestly-
Like, who wants
honestly-
them to fill that stadium?
I think if the Chargers win this division outright, then Herbert is like solidly in the MVP discussion because he's just gonna have
think
to
he
have
gets
that
it.
kind. He's gonna have to have that kind of year to win the division against the other three.
Yeah.
Because like, just I don't care which one of the four, whoever's leading this division or running away with this division, if that even is possible, the division winner, that quarterback's going to be in the MVP, plus one of the running backs from the AFC South. Pick your poison, and then either Joe Burrow or Lamar in the North. Like, that's your MVP race, basically. Just throw all those guys in the pot, and then pick a few NFC guys to throw in there. But I think they kind of wash each other out. Like, this is definitely the more fun conference to have talked about. This will probably be a much longer video through and through than the NFC divisions. But, yeah, I think it'll be really fun to, in the next episode, we're going to talk about all the playoff scenarios for all the four of us, both NFC and AFC. And I'm sure we're going to get into more heated discussions about these teams when it comes to playoff scenarios. But I think we'll go ahead and end this video right here.